All sports, all the time.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
This is the Spoken Podcast.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
I'm your host, Lance Twidwell.
Man, that kid, he can ball, man. He can ball.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby!
Let's talk some sports, because that's what we're here to do.
You are tuned in to The Spoken.
This is the Spoken Podcast. I'm your host, Lance Twidwell. Here inside the Spoken Studios, my guys, Trevor Twidwell.
What's good?
And Eddie Ortiz.
Yo.
Episode 159 in full swing, full motion. Man, we are so happy to be here with you guys and for you to be here with us. Whether you're live streaming, whether you're YouTubing, or whether you're podcasting with us, we are just grateful for you to be here with us at all. We have been doing this for quite a long time, and I got to be honest with you guys, this is going to be one of those shows where I don't really know where to begin, because holy shit, have there been so many things going on in the NFL. And this, it isn't the regular season or even the playoffs or the Super Bowl as to why the NFL is king. Shows like this, times like this, when the season is over and they're still dominating the headlines, even though March Madness is going on, even though baseball is about to commence, even though all these other things around the world are going on, the number one storyline in American sports, maybe even in America at all, is football. Pro football. This is the weirdest, strangest time to be a football fan, but you know what? It's also the best time because we got so much going on just in the AFC side alone, and that's actually where I want to start primarily. But before I even get to that, I want to say happy birthday to the best coach in the NFL currently and the greatest coach in the history of the Chiefs organization, Andrew Walter Reed, who turns 64 today. I want to say congratulations for everything that you've already accomplished in life and in your career. And I believe personally that Andy Reid's got a lot of years left to do anything that he wants to do at the professional football level. He's got himself Patrick Mahomes and several other key figures in this organization. They're going to keep him steady as he continues to climb that mountain as arguably the greatest coach to ever live in the NFL. I don't know he's there yet. I don't think he is, but I think he's very close. He's one of the 5 greatest, in my opinion, to ever live, and one of the 5 greatest ever coach on the sidelines in an NFL game. I want to say congratulations to Andy Reid. We are so appreciative of what he's done here in Kansas City. I have no idea where this organization and where this franchise would be and where my fanhood, quite frankly, would be if it wasn't for Andy Reid coming over here and changing the entirety, trajectory, and culture of this organization. And I want to thank Clark Hunt for bringing him here because that was a big move. That was a ballsy move, something that this franchise has not really ever gone and done, where they just went out there and said, we're getting our guy no matter what anybody else says. We're not letting them get him, because there were several other teams, the Cardinals, the Chargers, teams like that were hell-bent on getting Andy Reid as soon as the Eagles fired him. And we got him over here in Kansas City for the last 10 years. We've enjoyed the ride, in particular the last 4 specifically. Yeah. But the last 10 years have been incredible, man. We appreciate it, and I hope that this ride continues. But we got a lot of NFL news to get to, guys. We got a lot to talk about, and it started very early last week, and that's the only... It's a blessing and a curse to have a show once a week, because when you have a slow-ish week or a week that's kind of normal, it's good to have one show a week because you can really condense it all in one episode and get your thoughts, get your takes, get your opinions on those matters. But on a week like this, man, it's rough because you have to keep tabs on everything that took place. And starting from last weekend, I mean, literally, we're finishing our show last week, and Amari Cooper gets traded to the Browns for a 5th and a 6th round pick. Yeah. And we thought that was going to be big news for our show next week, this week in particular. No, that's actually just a sideline story now. That's just something that we can just throw in and talk about today, which we could. But there are so many more bigger stories just here in Kansas City alone that we could talk about. But I want to start... And I want to get Trevor and Eddie's opinions on this one as well, because this is probably still the biggest story. Well, I'd say top 3 story. Some big news broke yesterday that is very controversial, to say the least. But I want to start with Tom Brady announcing his return to the NFL, his unretirement from the NFL this last week, when he said it was, I believe it was, what was that? Was that Sunday night, if I'm not mistaken? It was Sunday evening, Sunday night. We get the news that Tom Brady has announced that he's not done playing football, that he's had some time to reflect over the last 2 months and change, that he wants to continue to play, that his family's on board, and that he will be returning to the Buccaneers for the 2022-2023 season. And look, I have told Trevor, I have told Eddie, I have told everybody out there when it comes to players that are at the end of their careers or want to continue their careers, that if you're good enough still and a team wants to continue to pay you to be on their team and lead their franchise, keep playing. Keep doing what you're doing. I, for one, am not upset that Tom Brady wants to keep playing football. I think it's awesome because the man takes care of his body. He's been a class representation of the NFL, and he's still damn good. He's still a top 10 quarterback in this league. My only problem with the whole Tom Brady situation is the fact that Tom Brady just went Brett Favre on all of us. And Trevor and I loved Brett Favre growing up, but the man became a nuisance and an annoyance for the last 4 or 5 years of his career. Because he kept doing this, I'm retired. No, I'm unretired. No, I'm officially done. No, I'm going to come back. Oh, the Packers don't want me now, even though they just drafted Aaron Rodgers in the first round 3 years ago? Forget them. I'm going to try to go to the Vikings. Oh, can't go to the Vikings? I'll go to the Jets and just waste my time there and throw 22 interceptions and leave the league. Oh, now I can finally go to the Vikings? Okay, now I'm going to stick it to the Packers. I have a chance to win an NFC championship and go to the Super Bowl? Oh, I'm going to throw a horrific pick across the field to the Saints. And in that, the thing with Tom Brady is this. I think that at 44, he's better than what Brett Favre was at 40. There's no debate about that. This isn't about what Tom Brady can do on the field. My problem is how he handled this. Is that he announces his retirement. He comes out with this huge-ass memoir that come out about, I got to thank my family, my friends, and my teammates throughout the years, reflecting on all the things he's done over the last 20 years. And then 40 days later, he wants to make an announcement he's come back. I would get it if he made this announcement that he was retired at the same time that he did, and then in July and early August when the season's really starting to kick into gear, he says, guys, I miss it, and I really like to come back. I'm seeing my former teammates out there on the field practicing, preseason's going on. I'm getting the itch. That's something I would be on board with. It's March. He hasn't even missed any real time. And you can't tell me for a second that a man is calculated with his own body and his own career, with a wife that has been just as, if not more successful in her own career, would not have this calculated and down pat. You can't tell me this wasn't an orchestrated ordeal. You can't tell me this wasn't what he wanted to do all along. Because there was only 40 days in between. And there was no football missed. This was a stunt by Tom Brady. He wanted the attention to be on him. And why I can prove that? Look at when he announced it. It was literally the night before free agency hit. It was the night before the tournament or the March Madness and all this stuff was starting to commence. Yep. Spare me. Tom, if you want to keep playing football, keep playing football. No one's going to be mad at you. Maybe besides some NFC South fans. But none of us are sitting here saying, oh, he shouldn't be playing anymore. It's the way you handled it, man. You're too good for this. You're the most successful football player of all time. And this is how you're going to handle your retirement, unretirement? It did nothing for anybody. It did no good for anybody. Other than you getting attention in some headlines. To me, and I'm going to get your guys' quick opinions on this, and then I'm going to get back to my rant because I got plenty of other things I want to say. But I just want to get your guys' initial thoughts and reactions. Cheryl, I'll start with you. What was your thoughts on the whole Tom Brady situation and how he handled all this?
I think we all kind of expected this to happen. I think a lot of us were kind of like, nah, is he really done? Because, the greats, when they walk away, a lot of times they get, like you said, they get that itch. They get that, that desire to, when they're away from it, it's something they've done every day, day in, day out. It's a massive part of them. So it's hard for these guys to walk away, especially those that are as successful as Tom Brady. He wants that again. And I get it, man. That competitive... There's something about, especially as a man, walking away from a competitive sport that's integral in your life and has been a massive part of your DNA for the majority of your life. It's tough just to walk away from, man. So I expected there to be somewhat of a possible, especially the way he went out. It wasn't like really on his terms. Things got mixed up and things were said that before he wanted them said. And the season last year didn't go the way he wanted to, so I just didn't like how he was like trying to make it all about family. This is his time to go spend it with family, and it was like, okay, bro, you spent time with family for a month, and now you're back. Like, I don't know. It's just that was kind of in poor taste in my mind. Like he's all of a sudden, he's gonna this next chapter. We were all giving him his kudos. This is his next chapter in his life to be the best dad possible, be there as much as possible, and now he's back. So I don't really care. I think it's only good for football when Tom Brady's here. It's good for ratings. It's good for the sport. It's good for the competitive nature of the game. So I'm not really. I'm pretty neutral on it. I'm not that upset about it. It is kind of attention whorish of him again. But this is no surprise. Like most of the greats like the attention, man. This is what they do. They thrive in that environment. So this is just another notch on the attention belt for Tom Brady. It is what it is. I'm not mad that he's back. Like I said, it's good for the sport. So if anything is good for the sport, I'm with it. So bring on the competition, Tom.
All right, man. First, I want to shout out Big Charlie's for
There you go.
sending me my hoodie. Got to rep it today, Thank you. Shout out. Appreciate it. Much love.
Much love.
As Tom Brady goes, I don't mind the news. I mean, I'm pretty neutral, kind of like Trevor said. I guess a lot of people expected it, knowing who he is, and he has that competitive nature in him. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we've known that since he was with New England. Obviously, his motto is "What's your favorite ring?" He's always going to be the next one. You know what I mean? So he has that itch. He's always had that itch. So it's going to be hard for him to walk away from football. And hey, man, if you can still play at a great level like he did just last season, why not come back one more season? You know what I mean? And the way that they kind of ruined his going away moment, his time to shine, was kind of fucked up. So I can see why he came back to kind of take that moment back, take that moment away from those who took it from him, if that makes any sense. So I can see him being a little petty about that, But I mean, you can't blame the guy. They took that away from him, and he felt like he was done wrong. So he's gonna take that away. He's gonna take that away from those who did report it. So, Tom Brady's gonna be Tom Brady, and he's gonna be remembered as the greatest of all time. Doesn't matter if he retires now or next year. His career is set in stone. He is a first ballot Hall of Famer, no questions asked. As of currently right now, he is the greatest of all time. So,
and then we have something that I think did take the attention, believe it or not. I didn't think this was possible, but another story that came out just yesterday that took all the headlines, and this made Tom Brady's news look like literally yesterday's news. I did not know something like that could happen, but here we are. So yesterday we did find out, and we had been told for the last few days, as soon as Deshaun Watson was cleared of criminal charges, that he was going to have a market. There was going to be a lot of teams out there that were looking into getting Deshaun Watson. We heard there were 7-8 teams to start with that we knew for sure. Then it started to narrow down to about 3 teams, or 4 teams. The Panthers were in the mix, but he had pretty much told them a couple days ago they were out of the mix. And then there was left to the Browns, the Saints, and the Falcons. People were connecting the dots with the Falcons because that's his hometown. That's where, he would be a hero basically there, which he already has been looked at and viewed as. They want to get out of the Matt Ryan business, who's an aging quarterback, has got a big cap hit, things of that nature. There was a lot of connecting dots there. The Saints, a really good defense. Dennis Allen's a good defensive coordinator. I don't know if he'd be a great head coach. Maybe Sean Payton would want to come out of retirement and pull a Tom Brady on us and want to coach Deshaun Watson if he was to decide to go to the Saints. The Browns were a team that made a lot of sense because they have a ton of talent. They're trying to get out of the Baker Mayfield business. They got a really good head coach who was a former coach of the year in Kevin Stefanski. There was a lot of good vibes between the Browns and Deshaun Watson. He personally called them a couple days ago and said, hey, I'm going to decide between the Falcons and Saints according to our reports. And then out of the blue, we hear that the Browns were finalizing a deal with Deshaun Watson to get him as their next head coach. We saw the back and forth with Baker Mayfield, who wanted to let the fans know that he loved them, and then he requested a trade the next day. The Browns said they're not going to trade him, and now they're finalizing a deal with Deshaun Watson, and now they're going to agree to a trade for Baker Mayfield, which I'm sure we're going to hear by Monday as to where he's going to land and be a quarterback moving forward. The Deshaun Watson story, you look at it from the football aspect, and you go, okay, well, now the Browns are Super Bowl contenders because they have a top 5 quarterback who's not even 27 years old yet. Kevin Stefanski can do whatever he wants with that offense. They have plenty of talent on both sides of the ball.
Cooper.
That very winnable division. The Bengals, although they did get to the Super Bowl, there's a lot of questions on that team. They're so desperate to get cornerbacks, they just re-signed Eli Apple. So that's where the Bengals are at currently. They still have problems on the offensive line. The Ravens are coming off an injury-ridden season, which I do expect them to be back and in playoff contention. Yeah. The Steelers are so bad at quarterback, they had to go give Mitch Trubisky a 2-year deal. So there's a very winnable division here. So from the football side of things, this makes all the sense in the world for the Browns. And the Browns just fully guaranteed $230 million to Deshaun Watson, no questions asked. Unfortunately for this situation, there's a lot more attached to it than just football. Because from the naked eye, you sign this guy 24/7, 7 days a week. You get this dude if you can, right? But there's even Browns fans that don't like this move, as crazy as that sounds. It's not so crazy. Because of the fact that although he's not facing criminal charges, we have to consider the fact this man has 22 civil cases still against him. Now, he may never see anything negative come against him for the rest of his career. But that doesn't change the fact there are 22 potential victims that are still part of his legacy for the rest of his career and, more importantly, his life. And a lot of Browns fans, and NFL fans in particular, aren't co-signing on him being able to go from a guy that within less than a week's time went from a guy that potentially was going to prison and never playing football again to a guy that now is that just signed the richest contract in the history of football. That's wild. That's really, really wild. And Mitchell Schwartz came out this morning and had an incredible thread on Twitter. Highly recommend you follow Mitchell, period, because this guy's just awesome at what he says and does. He's very articulate. And he broke down this on Twitter about why there's a lot of problems with the Browns just being so willing to sign this guy to a contract this big. While also, if you look at the language of the contract, the first year, I think there's only $1 million guaranteed. So if something was to come about and the NFL is to suspend him for the season or more problems cause and another case opens or the old case reopens on him, they could get out of the contract.
Yeah.
So even the Browns know that this shit's shady. And I've always been one that believes, and I'm saying this stuff, but on the other side, I've always been one that believes that you're innocent until proven guilty, right? The problem with Deshaun is he wasn't proven innocent. He was just not being proven guilty. So it's a very murky, shady situation that's gone on here. And he misses all of last season for this very reason. Now gets rewarded for having all these problems. Do I know exactly what took place with these women? No. But I know that more than one is a real problem. He has 22 problems. And I have a hard time believing this man is completely innocent. But he's a free man, which means that teams are free to sign him. And I can't debate that. Do I think it's right? Do I think that this is how it should be necessarily, where he's able to go out and make $230 million fully guaranteed? No, I don't. And I would feel probably sick to my stomach too if I was a Browns fan. So this is a really icky situation here, man. Did they get better on the football side of things? Absolutely. Yeah, He's a significantly better quarterback than anything they've ever had in their franchise's history. Day one. But should he be in the situation he's in? Should Browns fans support this situation and this decision? I don't know. I don't really feel good about it either. What are your guys' thoughts on this particular situation as it's come about?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a shock. I did not think the Browns would be the team to land him. I was sold that he was going to Atlanta. I just felt like that story made so much sense for him being from Atlanta, with the story with Warwick Dunn getting him in the house when he was a kid, that cool story that we all saw on ESPN about that. The struggles he went through in that city, the connections he has with that franchise, being a ball boy and knowing the owner and everything. I just thought it made so much sense, and it was damn near poetic the way it would have happened. Yeah, it was a shocker. I did not think someone would choosingly go to Cleveland to be the franchise guy of Cleveland. It just never works out for any players, you know what I mean? So that was a shock, especially quarterbacks. There's not been much success for quarterbacks there. I mean, they got talent there. It's a good roster. They are set up to win, but I was for sure thought he was gonna avoid the AFC. The AFC is so loaded right now, let alone the AFC West, but the AFC in general was so loaded with the talent of the pool talent is so deep there. So yeah, I mean, did not expect that. I don't know what's to come of his cases. I know the case was thrown out, but there can always be something to resurface. We know how this stuff goes. Someone else can speak up. Someone else can go find more details on something. Some of these, if they are victims out there, I'm not saying yes or no if they are or not. If someone digs and says they find a footage of something or something, who knows, man? It's the social media age. So there's always some kind of paper trail, some kind of digital footprint out there that can just ruin someone's life. Yep. So it is a risk. But this is, like you said, outside of Johnny Manziel, the best quarterback. No, I was kidding. This is by far the best quarterback, the Browns talent has ever seen. Yeah, I'm definitely not that stupid, guys. Don't worry. But come back, Johnny. Yeah, man, I love the talent of Deshaun Watson. He is just from even the college days. The guy has it, man. He talked about special. We talked about that on this show before. I very rarely give out that compliment of someone being special. Deshaun Watson is special at what he does. He's a special talent at quarterback because he has it. He has everything.
Yeah.
He has the mobility. We all know what he is capable of. He's very mentally tough, very clutch. So I'm excited, honestly, to see. This could become the rivalry we wanted as well with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, they've had epic games already when he was in Houston. Now he's surrounded by much better talent, offensively and defensively, on this Cleveland roster. So the AFC is going to be a juggernaut of a division, man.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll see what comes of it. I hope the best for Deshaun. I don't know all the details. I'm not going to pretend I know if he's a good person or a bad person. I'm not going to be the guy that's going to be the judge and the jury. I love him as a football player. That's how I'm going to look at it moving forward. So I'm rooting for him. I love him. He's only good for the sport. So
football wise, this was a very, very, very great move for the Browns, for the Cleveland Browns, if they want to compete, if they want to contend for a Super Bowl. They have the roster to compete. They were just a great quarterback away from getting to a Super Bowl. And obviously last year showed the lack of quarterback in Cleveland. No shade at Baker Mayfield. He was playing through an injury. It is what it is. But this is a big step up for the Cleveland Browns, football wise. Not like drama situation and all that shit. It doesn't look as pretty as it is. 22 civil lawsuits. We don't know if this guy is guilty. Obviously, they didn't charge him with anything because there wasn't any significant proof that he did those things. But there wasn't any proof that said otherwise, if that makes any sense.
yeah.
So you can be found not guilty, but also you can't be you cannot be innocent of the crime or whatever. Mm-hmm. So that's gonna haunt the Browns. Obviously, I would say for the first couple of years, it's gonna haunt the Browns. It's gonna be a lot of fans turning on the Browns. Especially, I would say probably a lot of female fans are gonna be against this move, and I'm sure they're already spoken out on social media and stuff like that. Anywhere he went, it was gonna get a big reaction from those who support the woman, the 22 that filed the civil lawsuit, obviously that try to get him convicted and all that stuff. So we'll see what happens. Football wise, fantastic move for the Browns. Now with all the extra things outside of the football field, football aspect, doesn't look too great on the Browns.
The thing that sucks about this situation altogether is that, like you said, no matter where he was going to go, this was going to be the resounding issue. One of the most telling aspects to the lawsuits that I saw that stood out the most to me was when I don't remember her name. I don't even know if she went on actually put her name out there. She probably did. I just don't.
There was a lot of anonymous.
There was one woman though in particular that wasn't looking for a civil suit. She wasn't trying to get money. She wasn't trying to get him in prison. She was just letting people know, this is what happened to me. You do whatever you want to do with the story. For me, for somebody to go out there and put that out there and not expect anything in return, not want anything in return, that to me is very telling about this situation. And there are 4 different states. Women from 4 different states this was going on, different age brackets, different ethnicities. There was a lot of variables to consider as to why people assumed. And I will admit, I've told people this from the beginning. When I first heard this story broke out, I thought it was the Texans trying to pull some bullshit.
Yeah.
But then if you look back just from a football side of things, how ridiculously dumb that would be. Because that destroys his trade value if you ultimately had to trade him. And if you're trying to get your own quarterback suspended, that only hurts you.
It's beyond football, yeah.
So, yeah, it's
the
beyond football.
The amounts of people that came out, it's just, whenever there's 10, 20 plus people coming out, there's something was happening. There's just not enough to incriminate him.
Right.
Yeah.
And my thing is, too, I don't want to get too deep down this rabbit hole because there's always going to be the people that are for what I'm saying and completely just want to cancel me for what I'm saying. But there was a transaction of some sort in all of these scenarios, if I'm reciting everything that was happening. So it's not like he was forcing anyone to do anything, to my knowledge. So I think that might have been why there was no real
evidence.
Well, not even just evidence, but real cracking down on him being some kind of criminal. Because if there was money being taken from these people to do these things, they can no longer use him as some kind of criminal because they took money to do certain things. He may have bribed them. There might have been some bribery there, but If someone gave me money to do something and then I feel nasty about it later, that's my fault.
Well, and from looking at
I'm not
the
victim
NFL,
blaming here.
look at
I'm not doing that. But what I'm saying is,
Well, then stop it.
no. What I'm saying is, if someone, I'm just saying, if there's a transaction, you wash your hands of it. You have to live with the results. You can't really come and incriminate someone after the fact. That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't think they came down as hard on him as what we possibly thought there could have been.
It's a very sensitive.
But I don't know. I wasn't
It's
there.
a very sensitive subject.
Yeah.
Even if they took money from him to do certain things, I think there's a level to each thing.
Well, it still makes him a piece of shit.
Ask for the butts. No, I get what you're saying.
It's two parties.
I get what you're saying, but yeah, there's just gonna be. We don't know the fact. We weren't there.
But this
We're
is a
not the
sports
jury.
show. So.
Yeah, we're not the jury. We don't know what
Yeah.
the fuck happened. We'll leave that where it's at the courthourse where it's being dealt with right now. So.
From the NFL side of things, this
It's
proves one
phenomenal.
thing. This from the NFL side of things, this proves one thing: that if you're good enough,
Yeah.
you're going to play again.
Of course.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, look.
O.J. Simpson,
We talked about the Ray
Lewis,
Rice situation. Remember
Ray
all those
Lewis.
years ago with Ray Rice,
Ray Lewis
right?
too? O.J.
Ray
They,
Lewis.
the announcement came out that the Ravens running back Ray Rice is going to be suspended for the entire
Big Ben.
for only 2 games. Roger Goodell supposedly saw the tape and suspended him 2 games of what was called domestic violence. Right? Okay, we didn't see the video yet. And then I believe it was TMZ or Deadspin released the footage, and the man two-pieced his own wife in an elevator, and drags her limp body out of the elevator. The moment that comes out, Roger Goodell decides, oh, you know what, Ray Rice is done.
Yeah.
You said you saw the video, but see, you were gonna overshadow it and let him just have a 2-game suspension because he was still good for football.
I mean, and then Robert Kraft was getting, baby oil tuggies too.
Right.
And that kind of got swept under the rug.
Well, that's
real
because
quick.
he's a billionaire.
That's what I'm saying. This is
he
dollar
just pay
signs.
and
This
pay
is
and pay and
dollar
push those
signs.
back.
Yeah.
My point I'm trying to make is if you're good enough in the league's going to do whatever they can to get you.
Yeah.
Because Deshaun Watson's going to bring eyes to the TV, whether controversially or just based on fanhood. People that just love watching him play football.
Right.
So this is a very, like you said, it's a very sensitive topic in every way imaginable because it isn't just about what happened off the field. It's about now on the football side of things. Is he deserving of this opportunity?
Yeah, these decisions are
given
not
these
made
things?
based on morality. That's not what these decisions are being made. These decisions
all.
are strictly made by dollar signs.
But-
It's a
dollar signs,
business, man.
football.
So that was by far the most controversial, biggest breaking news this week, guys. We got a list here. We got a list here. Yeah, we got a massive list here because as we know, going into last week's episode, we talked about Russell Wilson and Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson, the AFC West stockpiling. Well, that didn't stop this week. The AFC West and the AFC as a whole decided to try to put together their own Avengers team. We saw Von Miller signing with the Bills this week. You're talking about a 32, soon to be 33-year-old. I think he turns 33 in like 8-9 days. 33-year-old pass rusher who's had multiple knee injuries. He's going to be getting paid guaranteed dollars until he's 36 years old by the Buffalo Bills. $53 million guaranteed. I believe it was a 6-year, $120 million deal in total. Incentives obviously are going to make that number what it is and all those things. But the Bills are so desperate to finally beat the Chiefs in the playoffs, they're willing to pay Von Miller historic money in his mid-30s. That is where we're at now. And the AFC, man, the AFC West, Davante Adams gets traded to the Raiders. Supposedly he wanted to always play there. Supposedly Aaron Rodgers knew that this was going to be a very strong possibility while still signing. I think that now shows that Aaron Rodgers came back simply because he's going to be making $50 million a year as long as he wants to play. And that's the telltale of all this. The Davante Adams, that one shook me to my core. I did not know that was going to happen. I did not know Davante Adams was going to get traded to the Raiders. The Raiders now got themselves a wide receiver one without question. They got some really good weapons. The problem for Davante Adams in this particular trade is, although he's going to be making $20 million a year, or no, I'm sorry, $28 million, and the cap is going to just continue to inflate for the Raiders with all the dead money he's going to have attached to that new contract that he's got. It's the fact that Davante Adams, the reason why he's been widely considered, at worst, one of the 3 best receivers over the last 3 years, is because he's had Aaron Rodgers throwing him the football. Now, I will defend Davante Adams and say that he's made Rodgers' life a lot easier too, because outside of Davante Adams, Aaron Rodgers has not had a single reliable wide receiver over at least the last couple of seasons. So they've been a great marriage for each other for sure. I believe that last year alone, Aaron Rodgers had 100 more targets to Davante Adams than any other Packer player. The second one was Aaron Jones, who missed time last season, by the way, and is a running back. I mean, that's got to be an NFL record. So Davante Adams comes over to the Raiders. Everyone automatically assumes this is just going to catapult the Raiders. I like Derek Carr. I think he's a good top 12 to 15 quarterback in this league on a normal basis.
Yeah.
But there's a significant drop-off from Derek Carr from Aaron Rodgers. Okay? So that is one thing Davante Adams has to consider. Also the fact that this puts the Raiders from the fourth best team in the AFC West to the fourth best team in the AFC West. I think they're a good roster. I think they're solid. But when you still have the fourth best quarterback in the league, or in the division, and you have
You think the fourth best
third
offense?
or fourth best defense, huh?
You think that's the fourth best offense? With Hunter Renfrow, Davante Adams, Josh Jacobs.
I think the significance
They
of
mi-
quarterback is what's gonna get
I
the
think they
other
could be the
teams
second
edge.
best offense in our division.
I did completely disagree. I think that Justin Herbert and Russell Wilson alone put them in those
They're
second
averaging almost as many
categories.
points a game as the
Because
Chargers
think about
last
it.
year.
I understand, but the Chargers now have Justin Herbert with Mike Williams coming back, with a healthy Keenan Allen, with a healthy Austin Eckler to start the season off. Their offensive line is going to be better this year from last year. I would pick that offense over the Raiders' offense simply because of the quarterback position alone.
I would say Austin Eckler is the X factor in that offense for me to put
Yes.
them over the Raiders, but I mean Davante Adams is a game changer, man, and I think that could be a massive. I think the Raiders could be. I think they could be really good. I think they could be second behind us this year, but we haven't gotten to predictions yet. But I think
Well, to their credit,
and
also
that
they
defense
went
was sneaky good last
They
year.
went and signed Chandler Jones as well. That's a really good pass rusher.
With Max Crosby.
32 years
Max Crosby?
old.
God.
With
Yeah,
Max
man.
Crosby, they did trade Yannick Ngakoue.
Yeah.
So that is a loss, but he's Chandler Jones is an upgrade.
Yeah.
I think we all can agree. The Raiders are finally making some moves
They
that I
made some
think
good
can
moves,
get them
man.
to that position. I still don't believe that they're going to have a real legitimate
gotta see it
chance
first.
to win this division at this point. Now, the draft's still got to happen. There's still more free agent moves to be made, but I think the Raiders overall have had a good offseason. I still think that this is going to come down to something that I haven't even factored in yet because I also want to talk about the other two teams in the division as well. The Chargers continue to add talent to their team, like we talked about earlier.
Loaded.
Adding J.C. Jackson was a great move.
Khalil Mack.
Adding Khalil Mack can be a good move. Now,
Yeah.
the problem for them is that there's still $64 million in dead money attached to Khalil Mack, who will be 32 this year and is coming off a major ankle injury. So there's that to consider. Here's the other thing I want to talk about with the Chargers real quick, and then we can move to the Broncos. Okay, you guys remember prime Melvin Ingram, how dangerous he used to be. You guys remember Joey Bosa out the gate was hitting 10-plus sacks a year. From 2016, which was Joey Bosa's rookie year, to 2020, which was when Melvin Ingram's last season with the Chargers, Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram combined for 80 sacks. That's a fuck ton, right? That's over 16 sacks a season between those two. That's very, very good. They also had Phillip Rivers for 4 of those years and Justin Herbert for 1 of those years. And they combined averaged for over 4,400 yards and 29 touchdowns with a 95 quarterback rating. They won 0 AFC West championships, 0 playoff games. In fact, they only went 1 time. They went to the playoffs 1 time in that 5-year span. And that roster was dangerous. In 2018, when the Chiefs won the AFC West, the Chargers won just as many games and made the playoffs and still couldn't get the job done. The last 2 years, they've had Justin Herbert, who had the greatest rookie season of all time, and then followed it up with a 5,000-yard season with over 35 touchdowns, missed the playoffs. And in fact, have a losing record in those 2 years, 15 and 17. I understand that on paper, the Chargers look really good. I get it. But here's the thing. Now we are starting to actually have heat on expectation on this team. And what does this team do in crunch time? What big games have they won? I can't think of a single one over the last 2 seasons. In fact, they've lost more upsetting games than have won big games over the last 2 seasons. And I believe Justin Herbert is an upgrade from Phillip Rivers. But they have not done anything that makes me think, if you can't capitalize on prime Melvin Ingram and prime Joey Bosa, how am I supposed to believe that aging Khalil Mack, and not aging, but not the greatest version of Joey Bosa, is supposed to make something different happen? I just don't see it. This Chargers team is really good. They were really good last year. They were really good the year before, and they didn't even make the playoffs.
3 of their big 4 names, 3 of the 4 big names on defense. I know J.C. Jackson isn't proven to be any kind of injury-prone guy, but Derwin James, Khalil Mack, and Joey Bosa all miss games consistently.
Thank you.
Derwin James misses seasons.
Trevor, I told you.
Joey Bosa misses multiple games every year almost.
Since
so.
2018,
Khalil Mack as well,
Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa have missed almost 30 games.
Yeah,
They've missed 28 games since 2018.
Their production has gone down, but when healthy, that is arguably the best group of 4 players in the NFL.
So it almost sounds like
defense.
it almost sounds like there should be no excuses.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is a very volatile group though, because that group is consistently banged up outside of J.C. Jackson, who's a young player. We haven't seen much, but I mean, that can fall flat very quickly if 2 of those 3 or all 3 of those guys get hurt at the same time. That's a massive loss and a lot of money invested in these guys. J.C. Jackson was an absolute big signing. Granted,
Wasn't he drafted?
Who,
Well,
J.C.
J.C.
Jackson?
Jackson?
Yeah. Well, I mean, dude, this is the
And he's
Patriots.
arguably the
This
best
is the
corner in football
Patriots
right
way,
now.
dude. The Patriots find diamond in the rough guys and get them paid. You know, so
He's averaging like eight interceptions over the last 3 years.
he's incredible.
Unbelievable
But
signing. I love that signing
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
Chargers. It's a great pick.
I love that they paid him all that money. I don't think you should pay corners
I was
that much.
wrong.
but
I was
oh
wrong
well.
about Khalil Mack. One of the stats I said about how I don't think he's going to help the run defense. He actually is one of the best edge rush / run stopping
I love
players.
Khalil
He
Mack.
is actually. So I was wrong
I
on
would have
that
been
one.
stoked if the Chiefs signed him.
I'll hold
an
an L on that one for sure.
So I'm not
But
going to act like he's not good.
the reason why I don't buy into Khalil Mack thing again is because of his health, because of his age,
Yeah.
and how much money is still owed to him. We were sitting here laughing about Von Miller signing for the Buffalo Bills. They owe more money to Khalil Mack, the Chargers do, than Von Miller's going to be owed by the Bills.
But you know my narrative when it comes to guys like that, especially veteran, semi-veteran guys that are getting up there in age. Motivation for me is huge.
Yeah.
So him coming over to LA in a very competitive division with a chance to be a very, very good team is going to be very motivating. Going from what the Bears were, then coming to back to a division he's familiar with, being that much more motivated. I think we're going to see a very motivated Khalil Mack.
And then we see the Broncos, who are a team that now everyone's just penciling into the Super Bowl, which is just comical to me at this point. Because I'll be honest with you, I'm actually, the more I think about it, I think you guys might have a point about the Raiders and the Broncos situation, how they might flip this season. Because although Russell Wilson, we addressed this last week, is a significant upgrade from anything they've had since 2014 Peyton Manning, because 2015 Peyton Manning was terrible. But 2014 Peyton Manning was a 39 touchdown quarterback, got to the playoffs, all that stuff. My point, though, is the Russell Wilson situation is not enough. Because we also don't know what we're getting from Russell Wilson. He's a 5'11", 34-year-old quarterback that's been sacked almost 500 times in his career.
And that defense might not be the same without Vic Fangio.
Thank
A
you.
couple guys that are out now.
Yeah, exactly. Coming off a massive finger injury on his
Cold
throwing
weather.
hand. Yes. Now, the thin air is going to help him get the ball out there. But what's funny to me about the whole Broncos situation is two very big things. And Trevor, you already addressed the Vic Fangio absence, so I'm not even going to say that. I think that's going to be humongous for their defense, because Vic Fangio, outside of Bill Belichick, might be the best defensive mind out there. Todd Bowles, guys like that are out there. But Vic Fangio is an elite defensive mind in this league. It's the fact that there's two big problems with the Broncos offense. Now, Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton
They
are
got talent.
good, young, talented players. But to this point of their career, and it might be just because of the quarterback situation they've had to endure and inherit,
They got 2 really good
they
running
haven't
backs.
shown me anything that tells me, oh, these guys are premier wide receivers waiting to bust. Because Jerry Jeudy had 0 touchdowns last season. Courtland Sutton misses games like crazy.
He missed most of the year.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not going to sit here and just pencil this team in as one. We had Dan Orlovsky on ESPN saying they're the best offense in the division.
I love it.
Based on
I love
what?
those takes.
They
I
played
love those
0
takes.
snaps together.
Yeah.
They have unproven commodities. Russell Wilson, like I just said, is coming off a massive injury in middle of his 30s. Undersized player who's taken more sacks than any quarterback not named Cam Newton over the last 10 years.
Well, and at this point, is Russell Wilson really that much better than Derek Carr at this point?
I would say yes.
Statistically?
I would say yes.
Yes.
Well,
I'm not saying he's not. I do
yeah.
think he's better. I'm saying, like, how much better is he really, though? If we knew that Russell Wilson had Devontae Adams on his team right now, it would be a wash. We wouldn't even be giving the Raiders a chance.
Can you compare this offense, the Broncos offense, to Seattle's offense with obviously Tyler Lockett and DK
No,
Metcalf?
I don't think. I actually
that's
think
what
the
I'm saying.
Seahawks offense was better. The problem for the Seahawks offense
offensive
was
line
this.
is terrible.
Yes, but
Offensive
so
line.
was the Broncos' offensive line. Their offensive line is not good.
It's not.
It's
It's
better
one of the-
than
it's
good.
one of the
I think
be- It's one of the best rush.
They have the worst offensive line in the AFC West.
Their
They
run
have the
blocking
worst
is-
offensive
their
line
run
in the AFC
blocking
West.
is incredible. But
Here, Javonte Williams helps with that big time.
Melvin
He's
Ingram,
a
too.
stud.
Yeah.
He's a definite stud. But here, my point I'm trying to make is that the Seahawks, their hang up with their offense, and this has been documented by several witnesses and players, former coaches, they run a 1990 style offense. It's outdated as fuck.
Yeah.
They had plenty of weapons, plenty of opportunities. What they would do is run. All right, fourth quarter, down 3, Russ, save us.
Yeah.
That's the type of offense they run. It was just totally ridiculous style of football that you're playing in the 2020s, 30 years outdated. That was the Seahawks problem. They had plenty of talent. They had plenty of receiving options. They've always had good running backs. It was just the way that they ran it.
Funny enough, though,
that
that's-
Russ was like, I'm done.
that's
done.
kind
with
of
Broncos."
how the Broncos run. They run
That's
the ball
my point.
like 80% of the time.
That's my point. It feels like, and I saw a tweet yesterday. I want to find the guy because I thought it was the funniest tweet I'd seen in days. He goes, Russell Wilson left the best division in football to go to the greatest division in football history.
He's in for a rude awakening, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're not going to a better situation here, homie. Yeah. Like you might be going to a better team overall.
I think this is the best story in football, man. How this division is going to shake out. Obviously, the Chiefs are the team to beat in this division and the AFC in totality, but this is going to be fireworks to watch, man. Who's going to rise to the top?
Am I worried about this division? I wouldn't necessarily say I'm worried. I would say, like, am I starting to get a little bit concerned? You can say, yeah, it's getting there. Obviously, the teams in the AFC West are definitely getting better.
Yeah.
The Chiefs are trying to get better as well, but you can't just get better on one side of the ball. You have to get better on both sides of the ball, and that's one thing that the Chiefs struggled with last year, especially on defense. So
we're not done.
The Chiefs have to make defensive moves, because if they don't, it's not going to look pretty for them.
We have roughly 20 more episodes to go before we get to our prediction show for next year, and by God, I cannot wait, because I got takes already. And I'm trying you guys know my cardinal rule. I don't give predictions until after preseason. It's
hard as that is.
Something I cannot do, and I want to so bad right now. But this is what I'll say to the camera, to the viewing, listening audience, to my guys right here, my two co-hosts right here. I understand that the AFC West is getting better, because it is. There's no doubt about it. The AFC has gotten substantially better with Deshaun Watson, with Von Miller going to an even better team from when he was with the Broncos to now the Bills. I know he played with the Rams last year, but he's coming back to the AFC to a better situation than he left the AFC in. I understand all that. But see, you have to understand something. These teams are making all these calculated moves and all these desperate moves to get to where the Chiefs are.
We're still here.
The Chiefs do have... Eddie, you're right, dude. The Chiefs have to get better on defense. The Chiefs have to add more to even the offense. And we're going to get to the acquisition in just a second. I know you guys are waiting for me to give you my take on this. But these teams are doing these things because they have to. They have no other choice. The Chiefs don't have to go and spend money like on Von Miller or Khalil Mack or any of these other aging veterans, because they don't have to do that. They are already in the position everybody else wants to be in. And you know the biggest reason why that is? Has nothing to do with any of the players. It has to do with coaching. Think about this. Yeah. These teams know they don't have Andy Reid. They don't even have Matt Nagy. I said this last week. I've been saying it all week long on Twitter. That the Chiefs have the two best head coaches on their roster, maybe even three, if you include Eric Bieniemy, who's the most worthy candidate. He is far more worthy than Josh McDaniels. He's far more worthy than Brandon Staley. Mm-hmm. He's far more worthy than Nathaniel Hackett. Fuck, Nathaniel Hackett and Brandon Staley didn't even call their own plays.
Yeah, that's the thing no one's talking about enough, man. We still have Andy Reid, bro, and the best quarterback in the AFC and the NFL.
This is what I'm talking about, guys. This is the ultimate X factor here. And again, who has the ultimate quarterback wild card on all this? The Chiefs do. Justin Herbert's a damn good quarterback. Russell Wilson's still a top 10 quarterback. Derek Carr is a fringe top 10 to 15 quarterback, a good quarterback who just got the best receiver in football. Mm-hmm. But who, if you had to choose right now to build your team right this very second, you're clearly taking Patrick Mahomes. Outside of one bad AFC Championship second half, this man has been pristine. He's been untouchable. This is the point I'm trying to make. And when you have him and Andy Reid going into year 5 together, adding back Matt Nagy, adding Eric Bieniemy back for one more year at least, you're talking about an offense that is going to be absolutely stellar, to the point to where you look at these other moves that these other teams are making, you look at them and say, y'all overspent to still finish for second. That's why I said on Twitter this week, these teams are out here outbidding each other for second place in the AFC West, because that's what I truly believe we're looking at right now. That's
what I said in the text thread. I said all these massive upgrades, and yet they still want what we have.
Yes, and now you look at the Chiefs as it's currently constructed. We've touched on all these other teams. We've talked about Tom Brady coming back. We talked about Deshaun going to the Browns. Now we're talking about the Bills and the AFC West. Mm-hmm. Now you look at what the Chiefs have done. Guys, I've been with you. I've been wanting to hear more Chiefs news, because there were guys out there that I really wanted to see come to the Kansas City Chiefs. I wanted to see Allen Robinson. I wanted to see if the Chiefs could go out there and get a Chandler Jones.
We're not done.
Right. But I decided to do something different this time around, because Brett Veach bought my trust. After this last offseason, hell, even a couple off seasons ago, I think he was starting to build my trust and my belief in him. But especially after this last offseason, when he gave Patrick Mahomes overnight the best offensive line arguably in football, without even a formidable right tackle, without even a consistent right tackle, it was still arguably the best in football. I believed in this guy. I bought into what he's done. his aggressiveness and his calculated ability to go and get guys on market value and below, it's almost second to none. And I saw him go and get Justin Reed. Now, we can debate on whether he's going to be an upgrade from Tyrann Mathieu or not. We can debate that because Tyrann Mathieu, to me, is an important piece, and I'd still like to see come back to Kansas City.
Man.
I would very much love to. Like, his market evaporated. If the Chiefs could bring him back on a very low-end deal, maybe a couple years for $20 to $40 million, I would very much welcome that.
Yeah.
I would be something I would like to entertain. But let's say Justin Reed is the legitimate replacement for Tyrann Mathieu. I love this deal for a couple of reasons. The fact that you're getting a guy that is 5 years younger than Tyrann Mathieu, a guy that is 3.5 inches taller and about 20 to 25 pounds heavier, quicker, more athletic, and cheaper.
And he was mentored by Tyrann Mathieu with the Texans.
It's a 3-year deal in total, right?
Yeah.
But it's only 2 years, $20 million guaranteed. So you're paying this guy only $10 million guaranteed a year. And if you don't like him at age 27, you can get the hell out of it.
Yeah.
This was a beautifully planned contract. And again, safety wasn't the biggest need for the Chiefs, but it was a need for the Chiefs in defense. And now they answer that. You get Juan Thornhill. You get a young nucleus of defensive backs for the Chiefs. L'Jarius Sneed, who's 24. Juan Thornhill, who's 26. And now Justin Reed, who's 25. You've already solidified your secondary for the foreseeable future, and I love that. Now, they're going to add pieces to it. I think they're still going to go get a veteran cornerback. I'd like to see maybe a Kyle Fuller or Patrick Peterson or a guy like that come to Kansas City and add some veteran presence to the defensive backs because they're going to need it. In this division with Justin Herbert, Russell Wilson, and Derek Carr, you're going to need a lot of defensive back help. But the Chiefs have put themselves in prime position to get to that next level. Just 2 moves. The Chiefs have only made 2 actual moves this offseason. And I talked about it on Twitter this last week. I said, all these teams in the AFC West are spending all this capital on aging veterans, and they're trying to get to the Chiefs. And here the Chiefs were arrogantly just re-signing their fullback and Michael Burton, and going and re-signing their backup quarterback and Chad Henne. Like, this is where the Chiefs are at. And all week long, I'm sitting here, I'm looking, and I'm hearing these rumors about Jarvis Landry coming to Kansas City. And I know Jarvis Landry is a good wide receiver.
Yeah, I like him.
I didn't want him to be the guy, though.
No,
and the reason why is he's 30. He's going to be 30 years old. He's 5'11", under 200 pounds. And he's had some injury concerns. And the Chiefs needed what for their wide receiver, too? A strong, bigger, more physical receiver. Jarvis Landry is none of those 3. So I was like, you either get Allen Robinson or you get Juju Smith-Schuster. Allen Robinson went and signed that lucrative deal with the Rams, and I'm happy for him. He's got his money, and he's playing for the defending champions. Yep. Congratulations to Allen Robinson. Absolutely. Because if they trade Robert Woods, get him out of there, all of a sudden you have your wide receiver, too. You upgrade it because he's better than Robert Woods, if you ask me. Robert Woods is really good. Allen Robinson's the more talented receiver. He's the bigger receiver. I would rather have him, especially
2 totally different players, but yeah.
Especially with Robert Woods coming off the injury he's coming off of, I'd rather have Allen Robinson. That's the only thing. We can debate that.
Well, Odell's kind of taking over that Robert Woods role. But,
and he'll be back in November, so we'll see how that goes with OBJ, if in fact they do keep him. I know they're working on it.
They got a guy named Cooper Kupp that's pretty good.
We got the news directly after the Deshaun Watson news broke that the Chiefs finally got themselves their wide receiver, too, Juju freaking Smith-Schuster. And you saw Patrick Mahomes ready to cook. He's out there in his honeymoon still chilling.
That deal,
and he's talking about Juju Smith-Schuster. They've been working on this for 2 years.
The deal is beautiful.
And the beautiful thing, Andy Reid sending him the picture last year of the Lombardi Trophy. We all know Juju should have came here last year.
Yep.
It worked out beautifully because now he can just Photoshop another Lombardi next to him with Juju also in the picture, and it's even more beautiful. It's poetic. Guys, I think he is the perfect, and I'm not trying to be prisoner of the moment here because I would have loved to have Allen Robinson. I would have absolutely loved that.
Amari Cooper.
Yeah, he was obviously number one, but I made peace with it over this week. Juju is the perfect piece to the Chiefs' offense that they've needed all along.
I
don't think he's going to be the only piece they add. I think they're going to add some other pieces we can theorize because there's another guy out there that I would love to see if, in fact, he gets released that we can talk about in a second. But 25 years old, 6'2", 220 pounds, can be a burner, a downfield threat, but more importantly is a possessions receiver.
Strong.
Great hands.
Yep.
Obviously available almost all the time. He did have the shoulder injury last season, but outside of that, his last 2 healthy seasons with Ben Roethlisberger, who, by the way, has been out of his prime for years now, 2018 and 2020, were his 2 healthy years with Ben Roethlisberger, the most recent ones. The man averaged over 100 receptions, over 1,100 yards, and 8 touchdowns. He's now playing with Patrick Mahomes as the third option. You're getting that production at that age for 1 year, $10.75 million, which, by the way, only 30% of that contract is base salary. 70% of that contract is all incentive-based, which means Juju's going to have to go out there and ball out to get all $10 million of that. This is the perfect contract for both sides. Think about this. Production side. You're adding a wide receiver 1, which Juju is, as a third option in your offense with Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. We're going to talk about Tyreek in a second.
That five wide formation.
Jesus Christ. With this offensive line, who's now even more formidable, that have worked together for an entire year, with Patrick Mahomes' trust now earned, you're putting that out there for Juju. If he goes out there and balls out, worst case scenario, he goes and signs with another team for over $100 million at 26 years old. Mm-hmm. Worst case scenario for the Chiefs, they get 1 year out of a productive and motivated Juju Smith-Schuster. As the late, great Trez Paylor always said, the contract year is undefeated. It doesn't lose. LeVar Ball said it. I never lost. He was talking about the contract year.
Yep.
So for every angle you look at this for the Chiefs, this is what they needed. And just like that, just one single move, the Chiefs now have the most complete offense in the NFL. I would put that offense with Juju Smith-Schuster attached to it against any offense in the NFL.
For sure.
The Chiefs don't even have a right tackle. They did sign Andrew Wiley, so he'll more likely be the right tackle.
Yeah.
But La'el Collins is out there. You have Trent Brown that's out there. Now, they might be out of the price range. They might be out of the price range, but I'm saying there are availabilities out there. The Chiefs can draft a right tackle behind Andrew Wiley. Andrew Wiley was actually very solid last year when he played right tackle.
Yeah, he's a versatile player too. Yeah.
With everything considered, with the coaching staff, with Patrick Mahomes, with that great offensive line, and now 3 significant weapons to pass to. This is the most complete offense in the NFL in my eyes. I love the Juju Smith-Schuster signing, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on this in just a second because there's another piece that I do want to add to this to make it even more complete. One more piece to the puzzle. With all the things going on in Cleveland right now, they've been talking about Deshaun Watson getting all this money. Nick still guaranteed to make his money. They just tendered Dearness Johnson.
Say it.
There's one name still left out there, and I got a lot of reaction yesterday when I said it.
Good and bad.
And I'm standing by it, and I'm going to continue to stand by it. I think the Chiefs, once Kareem Hunt is released, should go out there and grab him and make this thing what it should have been all these years, throughout the last 4 years, which is Kareem Hunt being the premier back for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now it's even more beneficial because the Chiefs also have Clyde Edwards-Helaire there. They took in the first round in 2020 that you can complement back and forth and be the Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt's version in Kansas City. I'm not saying that Clyde's ever going to be Nick Chubb because he's not going to be, but you put those two guys together in this offense where Kareem Hunt can be that dual threat, and then you have Clyde Edwards-Helaire being that guy that can get the 5-6 tough yards. Guys, I'm telling you right now, this is the idea. I know it's probably just a fantasy at this point, but I'm sticking to it because that's the guy that I think would add so much more versatility to this offense that we had in 2018 and haven't had since. I would love to see that, but in the meantime, I'm very happy. Just 2 prolific moves the Chiefs have made this offseason, and those 2 moves, to me, continue to solidify them as the class of not only the AFC West, but the class of the AFC. What was your takeaway of the Juju Smith-Schuster and the Justin Reed signing, Trevor?
Oh, man, I love the Justin Reed. He was one of the guys I mentioned when we were talking about, our priorities, what we want to see the Chiefs, what moves we want to see the Chiefs make. When I talked about the safety situation, whether obviously I wanted to bring Tyron back, but in the case that we didn't, Justin Reed was one of those guys I mentioned on that list because I love physical players like that, man. Guys that go and just make. That's why I loved the Nick Bolton pick when we picked him. I loved his film. I love guys that just sacrifice their body and make plays for the team. And Justin Reed is just that. I don't know if you guys remember a couple years ago when Justin Reed absolutely laid Tyreek's ass out. He was one of those few. He was one of the guys that laid the wood on Tyreek more than anybody. So this guy, he creates big hits. He makes plays. He finishes plays. He pushes guys backwards. I think he's the perfect fit. Tall, strong, big frame. Needs to work on his coverage a little bit, but he's still young enough to where that can definitely be, and we can find other guys to help in coverage too, and whatever. But he's a playmaker. That's what we needed. I love Tyron. Tyron's usually in the right place at the right time, typically, but there was a lot of business decisions he was making last year. He was kind of, not laying the wood as much as he normally would and what he's known for in his career. But this guy is, Justin Reed's an Eric Berry type of frame, big frame guy. Just a playmaker. He knows how to find the ball when it's in the air. Good ball tracking abilities. Just knows how to. He has that instinctual awareness we've been craving, and out of a big frame guy. So I think he's a perfect Spags guy. I think he's going to thrive in this defense. So yeah, I absolutely love that. I'm over the moon on that signing. And if we can find a way to bring Tyron back, that would be insane. And it might be more realistic than we think with Tyron not getting much. And everyone's pretty much signed a safety at this point. That's needed one, absolutely needed one. Outside of him going to some trash team, that's about all he's looking at right now. So the Juju signing, man. I mean, what more can I say? That was the guy we wanted I know me and you wanted Lance from the beginning of the free agency. I know you wanted a receiver. We were all in unison on that. We wanted a receiver, and before the Amari Cooper news of him being released from possibly on the trade block from the Cowboys, we wanted Amari because the overwhelming talent that is Amari Cooper that he would bring to this offense would be insane. But fit wise, I mean, there's not a much better fit than Juju. Juju is going to be what Sammy Watkins was this offense and more. He's got youth. He's typically a healthy guy. He's strong. He's really hard to bring down. He likes contact. He will run guys. He's incredible over the middle, up the seam. That can take some of that responsibility away from Travis Kelce having to play up the seam a lot, and that can make our offensive formations that much more challenging for opposing defenses to. Who's going to go up the seam? Is it we got Travis Kelce on one side of the formation and then Juju on the other side. That's what made our offense so deadly with Sammy Watkins. Sure-handed receiver like that. He's going to fill that role seamlessly. So I'm excited to have him. I love it. Regardless of what you guys feel about the TikTok thing, I don't really care about that. I love his personality. He's obviously a team-first guy. We saw his dedication to the Steelers. Whether you thought it was ignorant or not, I like those kind of characteristics from a player. He's faithful, he's loyal to his people, and he's going to bring that mentality over here to Kansas City. I mean, the first tweet was Chiefs Kingdom, what's good, or Chiefs Kingdom, what's up? Let's go.
They let him break the news. I love that. They let him break the news.
That's who he is, man. I love. He's a joyful player.
Surprised it wasn't a TikTok, but
yeah, I love guys that are passionate about the game, and that's who Juju is. He embodies that passion for the game, and I think he's going to bring that energy. And similar to the impact, maybe not exactly the impact that Tyron brought to this defense, but I think that joy, he's going to kind of maybe bring a fresh, new energy to this offense that we need, honestly. We know we have the talent in this offense. We've had it for years, but I think a fresh, new energy into that locker room, some youth into that locker room is going to be a key contributor to the success I think we're going to have this year offensively. So I am stoked on life with this Juju side of me. I love the kid. Whether he's here just for a year or whether we figure out a way to keep him around for a few years, who knows what's going to happen. But I'm excited to see the most motivated Juju Smith-Schuster we've seen in the NFL yet, because he's looking for that next chapter. This could be that
this
launching
could be his
pad.
prime. This could be where his prime
This could
really
be that
resides.
launching pad for the prime or wherever he goes. Whether he's here or whether he's somewhere else, flourishing, I think he's a perfect fit to this offense. I couldn't be happier about it, man.
I'm gonna start with Juju. Obviously, you guys were excited when Amari Cooper was announced that he was gonna more than likely be released by the Cowboys. You guys were all like, "Well, my number one change, it's Amari Cooper." Mine's never did.
That's true. You did, yeah.
I always stick with Juju. I was like, Juju is my pick.
Yeah.
He's our guy. Andy Reid wouldn't have devoted that time last year to get him. Andy Reid knows what this offense needs, and adding Juju just elevated this offense. Yeah, we're missing a right tackle. But if you think about it, Andrew Wiley was in his last 4 games. Mm-hmm. I don't think he gave up a sack.
He did.
Yeah. And right tackle is one of the lesser, more positions
because
I'm worried about.
It's not his blind side. Therefore, I think Patrick's a lot more comfortable not having such a great talent right tackle. I think he's not too concerned about it.
We can always draft another right tackle later on too.
I think a left tackle, it's a bigger, more important position for Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. So us having Andrew Wiley in as a right tackle, I'm okay with it. I'm happy. I love that we brought him back. Hopefully he can produce what we saw from him in the last 4 games of the season last year. So if we can have that, this offense is going to be dynamic. But adding Juju to this mix, it takes that pressure away from Tyreek and Travis Kelce. Why do I say that? Because teams now have to respect Juju. Juju is a number 1 wide receiver, and he's a third option in this team. Teams now cannot double team Tyreek and Travis Kelce and then hope for the best for the Chiefs to find anybody else. Now you have to worry about Juju. Yeah. Now you're going to have to more than likely double team Tyreek and Juju, leave Travis Kelce alone, and he's just going to eat you up.
Remember all those Byron Pringle games where Byron Pringle was a problem for certain defenses? Yes. Right. Now we have Juju Smith-Schuster.
So now you have...
No disrespect to Byron. I'm happy with that. Was it the Bears? I believe
the Bears.
The Bears.
Yeah, $6 million.
Yeah,
I think
very
$6 million, $3 million.
Productive player here, yeah.
But come on, Juju's a major upgrade from Byron Pringle. There is going to be those that's like, well, what about Mecole Hardman?
His role is what it is.
Yeah, his role it's limited to what we've known, what we've seen the past 2-3 seasons since his. Yeah, we need those plays, those jet sweep plays where he just like cuts. We need
gimmicky plays are important. They're not gimmicks aren't a bad thing.
Yeah, no.
Having him is a major plus. Yes,
but adding Juju to this mix now it can add it can give Andy Reid that freedom to give Mecole Hardman a lot of more gimmicky plays, if that makes sense. So. Dude, I love this signing. I love Juju, the style of play that he's going to bring to this offense. And for Patrick Mahomes to retweet, tweet your tweet within a minute of you posting it.
Yeah. He's stoked as hell, bro. You know
Patrick Mahomes, yeah. So if Patrick Mahomes approves, I approve. And Chiefs Kingdom, you should approve too.
Yeah.
But with Justin Reid, I'm not even gonna lie. I didn't know he was a free agent. I thought
the Texans were gonna bring back.
You said you mentioned last week. I probably missed it because I honestly did not I didn't know. I did not.
LSU guy. We love our LSU guys.
Yeah.
Yes. He's a stud, man.
Yes. He is a little bit bigger. I think he's a better tackler than Tyrann Mathieu.
He cracks,
so I think it adds a little bit more of athleticism to the position. Leadership skills, I don't know because I haven't seen him be that leader. I didn't think he was that kind of leader, that vocal leader in Texas, Houston.
Yeah.
So I don't know what he can bring leadership skill wise, but as a player wise, you can go neck and neck with Tyrann Mathieu and say they're pretty close. They're pretty almost the same player, with Justin Reid maybe edging them in like athleticism and a little stuff.
Well, Tyrese has got the experience and the knowledge, but as far as athleticism, Justin Reid at this point of his life and his career, he's the more athletic guy.
And he's younger, so Chiefs can be excited about this player. I think it's going to be a great fit for this defense. If he can bring the some of that leadership that Tyrann Mathieu had, we might not even miss Tyrann Mathieu as much as we're thinking we're going to miss him. But if Chiefs can find a way to bring this man back and have Justin Reid and Tyrann Mathieu back there, my God. I love Juan Thornhill. But if you can have Justin Reid and Tyrann Mathieu back there,
and Juan Thornhill, all three of them, that'd be a great
dude.
There's a lot of versatility there. And
my God.
more than likely, the realistic scenario is that Tyrann will sign somewhere else.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the wet blanket here, but ideally, I think we all could agree that it would be a much better team with Tyrann than without him. Burnt. Because this is a better team with Tyrann than without him. No question about it, and I would love to see him back.
I want to say this, too.
Yes.
You mentioned Kareem Hunt. I definitely think that's a possibility. And, I know that a lot of our fan base in particular is probably torn on how they feel about him. It is what it is. He definitely burnt some bridges, but those can be rebuilt. I mean, to my knowledge, he was out there at the wedding with Patrick Mahomes and the boys. So I don't believe there's a bridge burnt between the players. I think they definitely are still close. And they won a good amount of games together. He flourished in this offense more than he's flourished at any other point in his career. I think it only makes sense. Me personally, I would welcome him back with open arms. A lot of people will probably see it differently than I do. I think Kareem Hunt would be the last most important move for this offense, man. If we had the Thunder and Lightning pairing of Clyde, and because they're two totally different guys, right? They're packaged differently, they're built differently, they have similar skill sets, but one of them's Kareem's a little bit better to me in my mind. At this point, better in the receiving game, and we've seen what he can do in the receiving game of this offense. Those two guys in that backfield with the addition of Juju would just set this offense on fire, man. So I am all for that move. I hope we can make that happen. He would come at an extremely cheap price at this point of his career. And I'm sure the Browns still got moves to make. I'm pretty sure they got to move some things around money-wise to make this Deshaun move make more sense. So I think he'd be one of those guys that would be a candidate for return.
The thing about
I'm for it, bro.
The thing about that is I think Kareem Hunt still has 1 year in his contract left. So with the Browns giving a lot of draft assets to the Texans, I think for them to get rid of Kareem Hunt, they're gonna want to get the draft assets back just so they can have more draft picks this
Possibly.
draft.
Wait, you talking about the Browns?
Yeah, the Browns.
So Browns are getting the 5th round pick with Deshaun Watson.
No.
Oh, you're talking about with Kareem Hunt.
Kareem Hunt. They're gonna want draft assets back. I think it's gonna be to that point where it's like, okay, you want Kareem Hunt? Give me a 5th rounder or a 6th rounder or some shit like that. We'll see what they want.
Give him like a 2023 5th round pick.
Yeah, I would find it hard to believe though that the Chiefs would end up trading anything for Kareem Hunt when they're the ones that cut him.
That's true.
But that's what I'm saying. But so I think those chances of the Chiefs signing Kareem Hunt are like slimmer.
Yeah, they're still slim. Yes,
They're
agree.
slimmer because now that the Browns obviously got rid of a lot of draft
It
assets,
seems most likely
they're
he's gonna be a Brown again this
yeah,
season.
either that or
but-
he's gonna be traded for more draft picks. So either he's gonna be traded or he'll be a.
But my
a
personal
Brown.
opinion, I would welcome him back with open arms. I think he'd be a huge addition to this offense. What we're doing. over
Well, and
there
then,
right now.
then there's also other veteran receivers out there that I think the Chiefs can still kick their tires on. There's still Julio Jones out there. You're not going to have to spend a lot of money on. He had a very down year Titans last season. He has a lot of injuries. He's going to be 33 years old this year. There's also A.J. Green will be 34 this year. A lot of injury concerns. They've just added depth. If you wanted to replace, a D-Rob with a guy like that, that's also a significant upgrade from that position as well that you're not going to spend a lot of money on that can incentivize them to come here for a year if they want to continue their career and then try to make some more money the next season for another team. I think that would be also a great move for the Chiefs. And also, our producer, Clay Wendler here, wanted to make sure to put this out here. He sent me this message last night because this actually segues into what else I want to talk about when it comes to the Chiefs' current wide receiver, Tyreek Hill, who's going into his last year of his contract.
Yeah.
If the Chiefs don't extend Tyreek this offseason, they will have 3 receivers playing for contracts. Think about that. You're talking about Tyreek Hill on a contract year, Juju Smith-Schuster on a contract prove-it year, and McCole Hardman. So you would have 3 significantly motivated wide receivers on this offense to make sure they can go and get as much money as they possibly could this next offseason. Now, what I will say is this. I don't think there's any true scenario or possibility that Tyreek Hill goes into this next season without a contract in place. From everything that we've seen from Tyreek Hill's side of things, even though it's funny stuff, but him and his sister on TikTok have been dropping hints about him getting his money, about the contract being signed, things of that nature. I don't think Tyreek would be putting stuff out there like that unless he knew that these contracts were going to be figured out. I think what's happened, and the reason why it hasn't come into fruition yet, is the simple fact that when all this is getting finalized, we're going and seeing guys like Davante Adams going to get damn near $30 million per year. Yeah. Now, I don't think Tyreek's going to get that, but this is why I proposed the contract I did over a week ago for Tyreek Hill. I think the Chiefs need to give him as many years as possible to solidify that, hey, we are securing you for the next 5 years. I think they need to add that 5th year to a contract for Tyreek Hill because players look for 2 things, guaranteed dollars and guaranteed years. I think they want to give him as much of those 2 things as possible, even though they do have him in-house. Even though they can, let him play out his contract and then do what they need to do with that afterwards, they can still just play out his contract and maybe try to trade him. Those things are not going to happen because as great as adding Juju to the mix is, it's only great because you have Tyreek Hill in the stable. It's only great because you have him and Travis Kelce. It's only as deadly as the weapons you have. Cool. Sure, Patrick Mahomes can still go out there and ball out and do what he does. Hell, Patrick Mahomes just threw for 4,800 yards last year, as we both just talked about, and we all 3 talked about. He had over 5,000 total yards of offense last year and over 40 total touchdowns with Byron Pringle as his wide receiver too. You added Juju Smith-Schuster, Travis Kelce, and Tyreek Hill. Imagine what Patrick Mahomes' number is going to be next year. Think about those things. So, obviously, Tyreek Hill is a priority to the Chiefs. And I think they've offered him multiple times different deals. But because of the market and the market demand, they have to reconfigure those numbers. So I think, and I'm staying by it, the Chiefs should offer a 5-year, $110 million deal to Tyreek Hill, $66 to $70 million in guaranteed dollars. That would put him at $22 million per year, which would make him the 2nd or 3rd highest paid wide receiver in football, which ironically, he is the 2nd or 3rd best receiver in football. So the market demand is there. It satisfies both sides because you're not paying him Davante Adams, you're not paying him DeAndre Hopkins money, but you're still giving him what he's worth, which gives him what he wants, and then you have a business deal in place because as we all know, the best business deals are when both sides compromise. I'm sure Tyreek Hill wants Davante Adams money. I'm sure the Chiefs don't want to pay him anywhere near that. But they have to figure out some middle ground here. And I think $22 million per year over the next 5 years is the perfect deal to get done for a 27-year-old phenom receiver that fits this offense seamlessly and wants to be here. And the Chiefs obviously want him because they've stood by him through the strongest and toughest test of time. I think that's what's going to happen. I think within the next few days, hell, even by the time this podcast is over with today, we could hear about a deal being done because now the market has been solidified and set in place. Now that the biggest chip, which is Davante Adams, has now been knocked over. I think that's what's going to happen. What do you guys say?
No, yeah, that deal sounds definitely good for both sides, honestly. But I mean, Patrick, if you're listening, buddy, you can just slide him some of that Adidas money under the table. You know what I mean? You got some to spare. Just keep a guy around, please. Yeah, I think a long-term deal for Tyreek, like a longer-term deal instead of like a 3-year deal or something like that, that's a little heavier per season. I think spreading it out would make sense, but honestly, man, it comes down to Tyreek and what he wants. You know what I mean? I'm not in his head. The team can offer him whatever they feel is right and fair, but if Tyreek feels he's the best in the game, which I don't blame him if he feels that way because he's arguably the best and most dangerous weapon in the NFL, I don't blame him for wanting to be paid like that. So, yeah, that 5-year deal, the $150 million deal sounds perfect. I know Tyreek wants to be here. I mean, this is the team, the franchise that took a shot on him, did our due diligence, worked through all the troubles that he's gone through, and we've remained, on his side through it all. We've won a ring together. There's a brotherhood here. The core he's a part of is special, and it's in the books. So this is something I don't believe he wants to be, go away from. And I don't think anywhere else he would thrive the way he thrives here in this offense and with Coach Reid and the mind that is Coach Reid and the talent that is Patrick Mahomes. I think this is the best scenario for him to win and to get paid. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think Tyreek's here for long haul. I'm not debating that. I just, whatever the number is, he's worth it in my mind. Even from the beginning, I've been Team Tyreek from the very beginning. Even when there's debate, should we pay Chris Jones? Should we pay Tyreek? Would you guys trade Tyreek? It's always been a no for me. It's always been pay Tyreek, keep Tyreek here, because I've identified the special player that he is and the evolution that he's done. Going from being a gadget guy, going from being just a Pro Bowl returner, to being an absolute elite all-time receiver in the NFL. This guy is incredible, man. He's getting better. He continues to grow. Look at the way he played this year. He wasn't just a burner, a deep threat. He was a guy that played a lot of underneath, a lot of yak, a lot of, short, quick slants and just take him to the house. This guy he can do it all. Granted, he's undersized, but his ball checking ability, his ability to catch the ball. He had a few dropsies this year that was a little uncharacteristic, but that's all part of growth, and I expect him to be better and more prepared this year. So I pay the man. For me, that's all that matters. Whatever the deal is, I think he's worth it. Whatever they come to agreement on, which I do believe they will come to an agreement on something. I don't really care. I'm just going to close my eyes and just, watch my guy go out there and work every week, and that's what I expect him to do. So,
well, I mean, shit. We're talking about Tyreek Hill that through 6 seasons has been better than Terrell Owens, Michael Irvin, and Chris Carter. Those are 3 of the 15 greatest receivers of all time.
You pay those guys.
Maybe 3 of the 10 greatest receivers of all time.
You don't let those guys walk away.
I'm just saying, yeah, there's a lot to that. And Clay also, man, he's been on fire. Just a few minutes ago, he actually tweeted out, because the structure came out for, we talked about Byron Pringle with the Chicago Bears. Mm-hmm. He signed that $6 million deal that's $4 million guaranteed. Yeah. So Brett Veach just signed, and this I'm quoting Clay Windler here. Brett Veach signed a 25-year-old All-Pro to replace Byron Pringle at half the cost.
Yep.
Think about that. This is the point I'm trying to make
70% incentive based.
This all goes around to what I've been saying from the beginning about how these teams are overspending to try to compete with the Chiefs, and then you go and see former Chiefs out there getting all this bank. And that's bank Byron Pringle.
Yeah, by the way, shout out Charvarius Ward, man. I'm super happy for that kid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Undrafted guy.
Deserves every penny.
Like
so fucking proud
deserves
of that
every
guy,
penny. And here we go again.
Yeah.
Brett Veach.
Yeah.
Traded Parker Inriger, a backup center, to get Charvarius Ward.
One of the best corners.
And for the last 4 years, that guy has grown and developed into an awesome cornerback.
Yep.
Not a great elite cornerback, but a very good cornerback.
A great story, too. Man.
Very good cornerback. And now he just went out there and got himself paid. Yes, thank you for saying that, Trevor. Yeah. But look at that. This is the point I'm trying to, why I'm so fucking calm, guys. Why I'm so relaxed. Even as the AFC continues to bolster.
They still want what we have. They still want what we have.
Whoever wins the AFC championship this year, they should walk out the Lombardi trophy and say, all right, you guys just won the Super Bowl.
You want the Lombardi?
Because the AFC should be their own league at this point.
Bro,
it's
wild.
So much better than the NFC. It's not even a joke. No wonder Tom Brady came back with his fake-ass retirement.
Yeah, because it'll be easy.
It's a cakewalk outside of the Rams and possibly the 49ers. Think about it. The Packers just lost their only receiving option. And the wide receiving free agency is completely dried up at this point. They ain't going to go and find a guy half as good as Devontae Adams. And that's what I'm saying. Is so you look at the AFC side of things, all these teams are just on spending sprees. They're maxing out their credit cards to try to get these guys because they have to do this because they're sick of seeing the AFC Championship at Arrowhead. Mm-hmm. They're sick. There's 4 freaking years of this.
Well, and I completely understand what the Chargers are doing with they're still being under their quarterback being under a rookie contract.
100%.
It's the best way to capitalize on a cheap quarterback. Right. That's great. But I want to ask you guys this question: like, as far as what we've done so far, the Chiefs, as far as moves, whether you like them or you don't like them, what position do you think that we should go after because I think we're only going to make a couple more free agent moves and then to focus on the draft. And if we trade up or trade down, whatever we do with the draft, I trust Veach. But as far as like a position player, a name, whether it's linebacker, because I think we should focus on defense as far as free agency moving forward, whatever moves we do make. But I think we should go after another, like a veteran linebacker, whether it's an outside linebacker, edge rusher, or a middle linebacker like a Bobby Wagner, if that's possible. I know he's going to want some money, but I think Bobby Wagner would be the guy I'd want to go after. I don't know what you guys thought.
I'll say this real quick, because I had the same question asked to me yesterday by a guy named Derek S. Keenan on Twitter. He asked me, who do you want the Chiefs to sign next? This is right after the whole Juju Smith-Schuster thing came out. I said this, and you guys already know where I'm going. It isn't a free agent. I want to see the Chiefs trade for somebody. They have the 30th overall pick, multiple third-round picks, multiple second-round picks over the next couple of years that they can play with. And Brett Veach likes trading picks, and he likes trading out of the first round. I think they should go out there and give whatever Jacksonville wants for Josh Allen. Now, I know everyone's going to sit here and say, Lance, the Jags aren't trading Josh Allen. How do we know that? Did we think last year that the Ravens were going to trade Orlando Brown Jr.? No. Even though he wanted to play left tackle, and they already had their left tackle in place.
Yeah.
We didn't know that they were actually going to trade him, let alone to the Chiefs. Okay? Jacksonville has multiple relationships with the Chiefs.
And picks are very valuable to the Jacksonville Jaguars right now.
And the Jags just spent over $200 million plus in free agency.
They're making moves. They're wheeling and dealing.
But the point is, they're going to have to pay Trevor Lawrence in a couple years. They have guys. Dead cap money is going to start rolling for the Jaguars. They're spinning like wildfire right now, and we're thinking, oh, this is going to work out for the Jags. It might not. And they just released Myles Jack as a cap casualty, who wasn't even making a ton of money. And second of all, Josh Allen has a contract coming up because this is his 5th-year option. They drafted him in the first round. Is he going to re-sign with the Jacksonville Jaguars? If he tells them, I'm not signing back, they might as well trade him. And if the Chiefs are going to give up the 30th overall pick with a couple mid-round picks and to sweeten the deal, how do you not make that? Especially, again, with the professional and personal relationships the Chiefs and Jaguars have with Doug Peterson and Joe Cullen. So it makes all the sense in the world for the Chiefs to go out there and make another aggressive move because free agency, although they made 2 really good decisions with Justin Reed and Juju Smith-Schuster, free agency hasn't been a big thing for the Chiefs this year. So why don't you go out there and trade for a player that would be a day one contributor at the biggest need that you have as a team, who's 24, soon to be 25 years old, that you can go and give him a contract extension after this season, which the market right now is about a 5-year deal worth about $63 million. 4-year deal, $63 million. I would sign that today for Josh Allen. So give me a young guy who wants to win, that is still on his rookie deal. You give the Jaguars what they want, which is more draft picks, and in a draft where you have tons of free edge rushers, pass rushers, defensive linemen that the NFL loves. That way it works out for both sides. I think it's the best move out there. I know Danielle Hunter from the Vikings is still available. It looks like the Vikings are trying to match that, though. So maybe he won't be available. At this point,
that would be a great move.
Only option the Chiefs really have is to trade for guys. So that's my answer. I don't know what yours would be, Eddie.
Same. I do think the Chiefs need to trade for a big name. Josh Allen's a perfect fit for this team. I think it would just immensely improve this defense, which is what we need. We need people to get to the quarterback. We need that help for Chris Jones to be able to finish the plays, because we can't have or rely on one player to finish every single play. That's just not imaginable. It's just not happening. And with Chris Jones not having the help from Frank Clark like we all expected it to be, adding another prolific player like that to our defense, it just increases this defense to levels that we didn't think we can get last year. So we need players that can get to the quarterback. We need players that can help get to the quarterback. So that's all I'm gonna say.
The reason I say Bobby Wagner would be my guy I'd want right now is because, well, if Tyron obviously doesn't get back here, we're missing a voice, right? We're missing a veteran voice on this defense. There's not really. I mean, Chris Jones, you can say whatever he is, but he's not like a captain that's going to be. He's making eye contact with the quarterback, trying to get to the quarterback. It's hard. We need a guy that's in the middle of the defense, kind of guiding everybody. That's why we don't have that DJ voice. We don't have that Eric Berry, or that Tyrann Mathieu. So I think we're really thirsty for that defensive voice in that room and on the field, getting guys in position. And I think we still have 2 really young linebackers that we're going to be depending on them, like I've alluded to. Willie Gay has become kind of an injury-prone guy up to this point. He's got to prove that he's not, but he has been. And Nick Bolton is the truth in my mind. Don't get me wrong. He's still very inexperienced, but I think he could definitely take that next step this year. But linebacker-wise, I would love to have a guy who's not only great in coverage, which has been one of our weak points, is our linebacker coverage, to have that still very capable leader in the defense and like a playmaker in the defense to obviously counter the Russell Wilson move like I've talked about on the show before already. I think it would be a great chess move for the Chiefs to go acquire a Bobby Wagner for all of the things that he brings to a defense and the knowledge that he has on Russell Wilson would be a key move for me.
You already know I'm on board with this. I said this last week. I pitched this proposal. I think the Chiefs should absolutely go for it again.
I don't know what number. I don't know what he would cost.
Yeah, the Russell Wilson scenario. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, the fact that he would know everything there is to be known about Russell Wilson. I agree with that 100%. I think Bobby Wagner would be a great addition because also you would be keeping him essentially away from the AFC West because I think he makes a ton of sense for the Chargers.
He's the perfect captain.
I think he makes a ton of sense for the Broncos. Yeah. So you want to also try to play some keep away here too, and I would love to have that. He just, even though he's 31 years old, will be 32.
Still though,
just had his career high in tackles last season at 170. Right. So yeah, Bobby's still at a very high level, and he doesn't miss games.
If you replace Hitch with Bobby Wagner,
and again, we talked about how people are afraid that he would impede on Nick Bolton. Not true, because Anthony Hitchens, who's half the player that Bobby Wagner is, only played, I think, was it 20 more snaps than Nick Bolton last season? That was his rookie year.
If anything, Willie Gay's more a kind of Bobby Wagner type player. He's more of a quicker coverage kind of guy. Nick Bolton's that banger guy that's going to meet you in the backfield.
And I'm glad you brought up Frank Clark because I really didn't want to talk about it, but I'm going to have to talk about it because I know it is news.
I called this.
The Chiefs, yes, you did. You did. And I was really looking forward to the Chiefs cutting him. Yeah. The Chiefs made a decision to restructure Frank Clark. I know Frank Clark wanted to stay here. I know the Chiefs like Frank Clark. Obviously, they traded a ton of draft capital for him, and then paid him $120 million essentially to bring him to Kansas City. The rework deal between the Chiefs and Frank Clark is essentially $6.8 million guaranteed fully for Frank Clark this year. The second year is essentially a team option, so they can get out of it. The dead cap I don't really like a lot because they're essentially choosing to pay him $18 million in dead cap over the next 2 years, as essentially moving out of $13 million in dead cap this year and just cutting ties with them. But because of the fact that they reworked this deal, in basic terms, the Chiefs are paying him about $1.2 million more than they would have had to cut him. So they look at him as a still valued piece, a valued commodity. I don't. And that's where I was actually on the other side of this than the Chiefs were. Now, they know this better than I do. I'm not sitting here acting like I'm some damn expert. But I'm a fan who pays a lot of close attention. And again, I like to bring up his numbers every time I can. He has 18.5 sacks in his 43 games as a Chief. That's his regular season. And he hasn't had a sack in almost 200 snaps in the playoffs. Yeah. This is a guy that you're paying $1.4 million per game to play for your team. Melvin Ingram came here and was a better player halfway through the season for the Chiefs, who made $4 million total. This man was making that in 3 weeks for the Chiefs. So I don't like that they brought him back, only if he's still a guy that you're looking at as anything more than a rotational piece. If Frank Clark is a premier pass rusher for this team, they failed. This cannot be one of your premier pass rushers. And I'm talking about even if you bring Melvin Ingram back, Frank Clark cannot be one of your guys that you're relying on for 3-4 downs at a time.
Yeah, he's going to be.
And that's unfortunate because the Chiefs now, if that's the case, then Patrick Mahomes is going to have to replicate what he did in 2018. That's the only way the Chiefs are winning anything this next year. Because of the fact, and that might be possible now that with all the weapons he's got on offense, this defense has to get better at pass rush. And if you were to trade for a Josh Allen out of Jacksonville, Frank Clark all of a sudden becomes a rotational piece. And that's okay with me.
Yeah.
I can live with Frank Clark on this team if he's just one of the guys. But if he's one of the two guys, the Chiefs didn't have a very good offseason because we all knew the assignment. Just like we knew the assignment last offseason. You got to get the offensive line better. And Brett Veach knocked it out of the park. If he lets Frank Clark be one of the best guys on this defensive line, Brett Veach did not have an offseason equivalent to last offseason.
Yeah, I mean, I think the deal's fine. It's just it's the guy that we have a problem with. The deal's good because we're keeping him pretty much the same cost we would be to cutting him. So it's pretty, well, it's right around this. Yeah, I mean, it about equals itself out. But yeah, it is probably a little bit cheaper to keep him than it is to cut him. So I'd rather pay a guy to have production than to pay a guy to not be on the team. You know what I mean? So I don't mind the deal. It just sucks that Frank Clark has just not been playing like himself the last couple of years, really, and that's unfortunate. I'm an optimist. I hope he can perform a little bit better this year than he did last year. Stay healthy because I do like Frank Clark. We need him to be a solid player. Yeah, he hasn't been good, man. We got to be honest with ourselves. He just hasn't been good. I like him. I like his attitude. I always like the person. And when he's hot, man, he is fun to watch. That guy sets the edge like some of the best in this league. He's one of the best at doing that. It's just finishing plays has been a problem for our entire defensive line, if we're being honest. So, a Josh Allen move would be incredible, and having him being that secondary guy to Josh Allen, that'd be a great position. But letting him be our best edge rusher is not what we want as a defensive unit. There are still moves to be made. I do believe that we are going to draft a young stud defensive lineman. I think that's definitely in the works for us in this draft coming up, and we will definitely talk about that a lot these next few weeks. But man. I don't mind the restructure. I think it works for us because, like I said, it's kind of a win-win for both sides. He gets decently paid. We're not sitting there with it's not sitting on our hands with no production on the field and paying him to not be there. So I might as well pay him to be here at a cheaper cost. It is what it is, man. We're stuck with him at this point.
By choice.
Well, yeah. But, I mean, it's the better choice than cutting him because we'll be paying him to not be there. I'm not cool with that. I'd rather have somewhat production from him to keep him here. It sucks. It's a sucky situation that we're in, but this is the situation that Brett Veach has created. This is, we expected more production. We just haven't gotten it. Hopefully that changes this season. I'm not expecting it, to be honest. But there are still moves to be made. I'm not, putting anything in stone yet. There are still moves to be made. There's still names out there we can go acquire. There's still a draft to be done. We definitely be talking a different tune to this defense here in the next few weeks, possibly, with some new acquisitions, who knows? But yes, the current situation we're in right now is unacceptable.
There better be upgrades coming for the Chiefs.
It's unacceptable right now.
Both in trades or in the draft, because 80 players last year had more sacks than Frank Clark did.
Well, yeah, and if we go into this division, this firepower division with all these offensive new additions to these offenses, we cannot go into it with this situation that we're in right now. Granted, I think we got better as safety and playmaking wise, but we got to get pressure on the quarterbacks, man, for our secondary to perform.
Yeah, and we lost a corner. So,
right.
So we also have to worry about that. So we're
5 days into free agency.
I do expect, like it's Brett Veach's tradition to make a crazy either trade or signing the day before the draft. I think it's the day before the draft. He got, Frank Clark and Joe Thuney. I think it was
that was day one of free agency for Joe Thuney. They didn't trade him; they just signed him, and it was historic. It was an historic contract.
Okay, so I think by the draft we'll have another major signing by the Chiefs. We'll see.
I hope you're right, man, because this can't be it.
You're right. We're paying them $800,000 more.
Yeah.
To keeping them instead of cutting them.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's chump change, really. But I'd rather pay that a little bit more to have him on the field than to just have a vacancy there.
Yeah, we're paying him $13.7 million. If we would have cut him, it would have been $12.9.
Yeah.
So
might as well have him on the field, man.
I get it.
Unfortunately,
when you have 4.5 sacks from your guy who's supposed to be your premier pass rusher.
Well, he's not getting paid premier money this year, which is
finally.
I know. It
doesn't even have 20 sacks in 3 years with the team.
So if he goes gets 5 sacks this year, I think that's a win.
$26.3 million.
Not to make a comparison here between him and J.J. Watt.
Yeah.
But he made more money than J.J. Watt last year, and J.J. Watt had more sacks in one season than Frank Clark has in his Chiefs tenure. That's a problem.
And fucking J.J. Watt missed half the season?
He missed 2 games for sure. I know that, but he still led the league in sacks and had 4 more sacks.
2 games?
Yes, he had 4 more sacks last season than Frank Clark's had in the last 3 seasons. So again, I understand why the Chiefs did it from a financial aspect. I do understand that, but it only makes sense for them to save that money or to use the money the way they did if they're going to go out there and upgrade at said position.
Yeah, unless they restructured him so other teams are more willing to trade with the Chiefs for Frank
Good
Clark.
luck trying to get a trade.
We made that bet. We got to lay in it, man. But the best thing we can do is make that bet as comfy as possible and maybe add some new names. There's moves to be made, man. I don't think we're gonna settle for this defense. I don't believe that. I don't believe it. I think there's gonna be moves to be made. I think we're gonna draft well. I think we're gonna get some other names here.
One day in between the time I said Chiefs go get Juju Smith-Schuster, I said I don't want Jarvis Landry. I don't want Will Fuller. I don't want T.Y. Hilton. I don't want any of those dudes, damn it. I want Juju Smith-Schuster. Yes. The next day they went and got Juju. So here I am, Chiefs. Go trade for Josh Allen. Thanks in advance.
Yeah, Veach is working behind the scenes, man. You best believe.
All right, let's move over. We got a couple more things to get to today, and I feel like we've been going for quite a while. That was a fun start to the show. Let's get. Oh, Jesus Christ! Hey, I hope you guys are having fun. I was having a blast right here. We can keep talking. Let's get to the Eddie hour because I know Eddie's probably got a ton of questions for us. I know that you probably might ask about Freddie Freeman because I know that he just got that signing with the Dodgers, which we did talk about last week. But nevertheless, I don't want to step on your toes. What is in the Eddie hour this week?
Hey, but I'm glad you brought Freddie Freeman up because I think it was last night or early this morning, news came out. Carlos Correa has signed with the Minnesota Twins for 3 years, $105 million. What are your thoughts on that?
I think Carlos Correa just cashed out. Damn good player. A guy that seemingly has just lived in the World Series and worse the ALCS over the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, the Astros have just been awesome for the last, 5-6 years. I mean, even when the Royals were going in their direction, up in 2014 and 2015, the Astros were out there kicking ass as well, even with their trash cans and little buzzers that they had under their jerseys. Correa is a guy that I've always respected and admired. I think he's just now, if I'm not mistaken, 30 years old. It's a great sign for the Twins, a team that I was very shocked was so bad last year. They were a team I picked to go to the World Series, and they were just flat out awful. A team that I think that had a lot of talent and just failed to get to the place they should have been. I think Correa is an absolute upgrade for their outfield, and I think that you're going to see them upgrade at that position. And I think that he was worth every penny. What is his age?
27.
27.
Yeah,
Okay, even better.
He's the prime of his career.
What's weird about that is he only got a 3-year deal. I'd have figured he would get himself a long-term deal, a 4 or 5-year deal with that team. And,
Leave his options open. I mean,
30 years old, goes out there, reworks the market. We'll
Yeah.
see what they do. But I think it was a great signing for the Twins, and I love seeing them be a team that goes out there and spends money like that. It makes the AL Central that much more intriguing.
MLB spending money, these guys getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars. It's
Fully
surprise. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, contracts in the MLB have always been outrageous, man. A-Rod, I believe, and Ken Griffey are still collecting checks. But, yeah, kudos to him, man. I'm happy for him. Correa's a hell of a player. 27, it is what it is. However you feel about him, but he's a solid player going to a solid team that needed that position filled, and he's one of the best, if not the best, that filling that position of need. So good for him, man. Happy for him.
And then obviously, Freddie Freeman has officially signed with the Dodgers. I believe it's like 6 years, 200 and something million. I can't remember what the actual number was, but now we can actually have real thoughts on this signing.
Yeah.
Now we can actually see what he can provide to the Dodgers team.
They're getting the best first baseman in the the NL on their team, and this is a team that's already star-studded with Mookie Betts and all those guys. They had guys out last year that didn't even play, then they still got to where they got. So, yeah, I think that their bullpen needs a lot of work. They have a really bad bullpen. They lost their closer in Jensen. I think actually Jensen, if I'm not mistaken, went and signed with the Braves. So there was like a weird little swap they had. So he's going to go blow games for the Braves now. So the Dodgers have a lot of needs on the bullpen, and especially on the back end. I don't know if they're going to be able to solidify that this season, but that starting 9 rotation, that lineup is just going to be stupid this season. If they don't lead the league in runs, if they don't get close to setting some records, I'm going to be shocked because they are just loaded from top to bottom. And I think that they're going to be definitely in contention for sure. I think the Mets are the team to watch out for with that starting line. That's 5 that they have with Max Scherzer, DeGrom, and those dudes. That's going to be a stupid pitching staff. I'd be shocked if that ain't the NLCS this year. But yeah, Freddie Freeman going to LA, hitching his wagon in that direction to the West Coast. It's a great move for both sides, and I'm happy for him, man. He deserves to get another opportunity to extend his contention as he gets into his 30s, later into his 30s.
Yeah, probably not a better team to go to than the Dodgers right now. I think the Dodgers should be the best team in baseball moving forward this season. They're fireworks, man. Their bats are insane. I do agree their bullpen is a little lacking, but that can be definitely tweaked and it can definitely be overshadowed when your bats are as talented as what they've got right now. So, and they've got great defensive players as well. So I think the Dodgers are in prime position to take a good run here this year. It's a long season. Guys can be, in and out. Who knows? It's a grind. But yeah, the Mets are definitely a team to look out for too. But I think the Dodgers, in my mind, moving forward right now, I think are the team to beat in the MLB. So, yeah,
They've been for the for the past four years. I would say.
And the run they went on last year with, like you said, with being out with certain players. It's still. They still got the most talented roster in my mind.
Then Danny Duffy was signed by the Dodgers as well, so there's that. And then obviously the Royals didn't stay put. They made their own moves, and they welcome home
big names.
They welcome home one of their their pitchers, the ones that went out and did real things. He's a great pitcher. He's not a bad. He's a good pitcher.
He's 50 years old now.
Yeah. So Zach Greinke is finally home. Your thoughts?
I'm so happy about this, man. This is one of those things like that it just feels really like warm and fuzzy, you know. In sports and in life, like so much negativity, and you just like it really bogs you down. And then there's Zach Greinke, and he's just like this ray of sunshine. He's like the weirdest motherfucker on the planet.
I love his
but
personality.
you just
man.
love him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just this lovable guy. First off, I just have to say from the baseball side of things, it's so great because he's still a good pitcher. He had a 4.1 ERA last year.
Oh, yeah.
Not great, but that's great for a rotational guy.
Solid veteran,
you know,
man.
third, fourth in your rotation, maybe even second. And I would love to see them give him the ball on opening day.
That would be.
I would love.
I'm
You
sure that's
imagine
gonna
the
happen.
eruption that he would get at home, having him back for the first time in 11 years. I think he left the team in 2010,
Well,
if I'm
there'd
not
be an eruption,
mistaken.
all right.
He's had an entire career since he left, and I love like he quit baseball early on. He had social anxiety. He battled with that. He still does at times, but he's gotten a lot better with it. Comes back to baseball, wins a freaking Cy Young with the Royals with a 2.11 ERA. I'm so happy about this. My favorite thing, though, is just the stories we've heard. There's a story back when Alex Gordon was first starting off. He came up in 2007, my senior year in high school. And Zach Greinke was trying to help Alex Gordon because Alex Gordon couldn't hit for shit most of his career, honestly. And it was early in his career, and he was struggling. And Zach Greinke one day brought him into the film room. He's like, "Hey man, come here, I'm gonna help you out." So Alex Gordon's like all excited and everything like that. And Zach Greinke puts on this video of him from the previous year hitting home runs. And he looks at Alex Gordon and goes, "All right, just do more of that." He just says, "You see that? Do more of that." And so Alex Gordon's
Be
like, "You
good."
son of a bitch, man." So like it eased things up for Alex Gordon though, because Alex has been putting in baseball, especially
You
man,
got 2 Ps.
when you're not hitting in baseball, you put all this pressure on yourself, and
Yeah.
it's a very mental game.
It's like
So
golf.
for a young
Yeah.
player with all the pressure like Alex Gordon had, because he came in, everyone was talking about him being the next George Brett. Obviously, he was never close to that, right? He just never was that guy, and it was very unfair to put that pressure on him. And I think Zach Greinke realized that because that type of pressure was put on Zach Greinke early too, about him being the next Paul Splittorff and being the next big time pitcher for the Royals. There was a lot of pressure put on these guys.
Yeah.
And I think he understood that. I think he wanted to give Alex something that he may not have gotten back in his early part of his career as well. So I love Zach Greinke being back here. He's an ambassador for this team, and I think it's poetic because this will probably be his last season pitching in baseball. And to come back to where it all started, it's just such a feel-good story. It's like when Ken Griffey came back to the Mariners. It just felt right, man. It's good to see. Like you're never mad at him for moving on or getting traded or whatever the case is. You understood it's a business,
Yeah.
but to see the family aspect come play its part in business, it always feels good, man. And especially when it's a player that can help. It's not like he's coming back just because he's a name. Zach Greinke's still a good pitcher.
Yeah.
So you put him in this rotation. It helps from the baseball side, but from the fans side, and we know how Kansas City is. We're all from here. We know what this is about. We know
fans in the seat.
we love having our guys, and I think it's going to definitely help. And I would love to see him get the opening day, toe the mound on opening day.
Yeah, I mean, an all-time Royals legend, fan favorite. The guy spent a lot of years here, performed extremely well here on a very high elite level for some years there. Still very capable, So I love this signing, and I think this is one of the exact things that the Royals needed as a team to kind of re-engage the fans a little bit. With us, with this franchise kind of being in flux right now of who we are. Are we going to be? Are we projected to be a winning team in the future? Are we working for the long run? What are we building here? This is a good guy to come in and kind of help some of our young guys in the bullpen to kind of get that veteran leadership. And help kind of guide the ship here moving forward and what the Royals are going to be. So I love it, man. The nostalgia he brings with that name. Seeing the Greinke jersey out there in the field again is going to be cool to see. I think opening day would be an awesome thing to kind of spark, this season for the fans. The fans would go wild. That would be a packed stadium for sure if everyone knew he was leading that. I'm happy, man. It's good to have that familiar name in our mouth again here in KC. Couldn't be happier, man. It's a great move for the Royals and great morale move for the Royals as well.
And it was good because I guess he had only one team circled that he wanted to sign, and it was the Royals. That was the only team he was willing.
man.
That was the only team he was willing to sign for. So I smell retirement here soon.
Yeah.
So Poetic.
Very poetic.
All right, now let's go to the NBA. I want to add a couple questions about the NBA. So Steph Curry is signing for some time with an ankle injury. How can the Warriors deal with this massive blow?
They can't. If Steph Curry is sidelined, their season's done. It's that simple.
He's out for a couple weeks.
Klay Thompson is unreliable at this point of his career. Draymond Green is just now coming back from injury, and Draymond Green's not a guy that you can hitch your wagon to. And the problem with this is it's not just a lower extremity injury that can, although even if you come back and linger and really put you in a place where you're not as effective, nearly as effective as you normally are. But this is Steph Curry's biggest, literally, Achilles heel. Steph Curry, from the beginning of his career, has dealt with ankle injuries. In fact, a lot of people thought this was going to derail him from being a great player. Yeah. Now, luckily, his body was able to adjust and adapt, and he got the training and regimens and all that stuff in place to where he was able to overcome it and have one of the greatest careers in NBA history. But now that he's, 33 years old, if this lingers, the Warriors have no shot of winning the title. They need Steph to be at his best, and here's the problem. Here's an even bigger problem. When Steph was healthy going into that game, he had been struggling for some time. He started off the season historically great. It was arguably looking like his best season of his career. And then he went through these massive cold streaks where he was just pressing, shooting under 20%. Was it for an entire week? He shot under 20% from three. That's something he had never done in his career. Yeah. He was shooting under 40% from the field. Something he had never done in his career. Shooting has never been a problem for Steph. So people were starting to get a little worried about what was going on with him at that time. And then he gets injured. So I'm worried for the Warriors. I think that I'll be real with you guys. I know the Lakers are not a good team. They're not. But I've told you guys for months, if the Warriors and Lakers play in a series, I'm picking the Lakers. I think LeBron James could almost single-handedly win that series because nobody on that Warriors team can stop him. Draymond Green would try, but at that point, Anthony Davis would be back. So Draymond Green would have to watch Anthony Davis. So that would mean they would rely on one of their guards to stop LeBron James. And they ain't doing that. LeBron James has owned the Warriors. Outside of the Kevin Durant era, he has owned the Warriors. I think that's what would happen. I think the Lakers would beat the Warriors in that series, especially if this injury lingers for Steph. I hope he gets better and stronger because the league is better with Steph Curry playing at his best. Yeah. So I really hope he gets back and he's good. I am concerned though, man. I really am.
Of course, it's concerning because he's that much older now, and these injuries he's had his whole career. I mean, granted, the past few seasons he hasn't really dealt with them, but with age. Old injuries seem to hurt a little longer, hurt a little more. You become more fragile. But I mean, Steph's one of those guys that doesn't depend on his athleticism too much. He's just an incredible dead-eye shooter. So he doesn't have to really attack the bucket that much. And but what I will say, I mean, without him on that team, they are absolutely screwed. That team is built around him. I think Draymond is the most valuable guy on that team because of what he brings on every facet of the game. But the best player on that team, the team that they thrive through, is Steph Curry. He is the leader of that team. So if they don't have his scoring prowess on that offense, they are absolutely done. But he's only projected to miss a couple weeks. And I guess we'll wait that out and see how he looks upon his return. But if he's not the same and he doesn't have that step and he's missing any kind of step, that team's still screwed even if he's on the floor. The West is way too competitive with the Mavericks on the rise. They've been balling out. The Suns are who they are. Jesus, the best team in the NBA. The Nuggets still playing good basketball. Any one of those teams could absolutely annihilate them in a playoff series right now. And if Steph's out, they will lose to maybe anybody in the West. That's how stacked the West is. If they go against the Grizzlies right now and they don't have Steph, they're done. You know what I mean? So I don't really. Yeah, I mean it's a no-brainer really. We know who Steph is and we know the impact he has on a game and the fear he strikes on defenses and the way he forces the defenses to adjust in that court. So Steph's great for the NBA. I hope he's healthy. I hope he comes back and he's himself again. I don't want to see I root for him. I love watching him. He's electric. He's been electric his whole career. He's fun to watch, and the NBA needs him. Especially heading into the postseason. So I think he'll be okay after these 2 weeks. I think he'll come back and be all right. But yeah, they're definitely going to need him to be any kind of threat in the Western Conference in the postseason if he's not himself.
Okay, cool. Stat News posted this. I believe it was yesterday. Jason Tatum this season, 26.8 points per game, 8.2 rebounds per game, career highs, most points per game since All-Star break, won 20 of last 24 games, best point differential in East, best point differential in 2022, best defense in NBA, 1 game back from Sixers, 1.5 games back from the Bucks. Question mark is MVP dark horse?
Dark horse, yeah. He's not going to win the MVP. And I just want to say that I really appreciate the Celtics deciding to delay 1 year to being this good when I picked them to win get to the finals last season.
They've been good.
Thanks a
They
lot,
just
guys.
fail. Yeah.
Really appreciate that. Jason Tatum is. I think he's finally becoming that great player that we've all expected him to be, and it's perfect timing. He's what,
great.
22, 23 years old.
Yeah.
This is when guys like him start to really rise. He's always been awesome.
I don't believe in them though.
I think he's now becoming that top 10 player in the league for sure. And I'm with Trevor. I agree. 20 of 24 is awesome. You get them in a 7-game series with the Sixers. You get them in. I do think they would probably beat the Nets because you can't rely on Kyrie Irving to be there. Kevin Durant would go off, but they just don't have enough pieces to beat the Celtics. And no matter where the Nets go, they'd have to travel. They wouldn't have home court advantage.
We haven't seen Ben Simmons yet either on the Nets. I'm just saying, if they go into a series and Ben Simmons is available and they're playing, he's playing like we think.
The same Ben Simmons who was passing under the basket with Trae Young defended him.
I'm talking defensively, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I would pick the Celtics, but I agree. I do. I think the Sixers and the Bucks would beat them rather handedly in a series. I would pick both of those teams. I think those are the class of the Eastern Conference. And yes, the Celtics are doing really well. Jason Tatum has put himself in the argument, but he's not going to win MVP.
He's definitely not going to win. He's definitely not going to win MVP. He hasn't done enough the majority of the year, but. I just don't believe in them as a team. They just continue to fail regardless of who's on that roster. I just don't. There's this. I understand Jason Tatum is who he is. He's extremely talented, but he lacks leadership in my mind. He just does. I don't think he's a guy that's going to carry his team to a championship. He's going to need another person to be that kind of leader. He's an incredible talent. I think he's arguably one of the best players. And I've said it for years. I think he has the chance to be the best player talent-wise in the NBA. But I just don't believe in them as a unit, man. I think that team's gonna have to be shaken up at some point, and a lot of things need to be moved around. They've tried to experiment with Kyrie, they tried to experiment with Kemba. They've done all these things and moved things around. They just can't figure it out, and I just don't believe in them in a series. Once it comes to if they match up with Philly, no, I'm taking Philly all day. If they match up with the Nets, no, I'm taking the Nets all day. If they match up with the Bucks, I'm taking the Bucks. If they match up with the Bulls, I might even take the Bulls. I just don't believe in them though when it comes to postseasons because they continue to show us that they continue to fail. With that being said, they are an extremely talented bunch, and momentum is a bitch. Momentum can be a good thing and a terrible thing.
Hey, what does momentum do? Right, they're calling it a bitch.
Momentum's a bitch. No, I'm just when it comes to basketball, especially, man, when you get hot, certain teams can get hot. We've seen it in March Madness right now. There's always Cinderella story. That's the same thing with the NBA. There's always a team that'll knock somebody out and we didn't really expect. It is what it is. So I like the Celtics. They're fun to watch. Jason Tatum is an incredible talent. MVP? No. I don't even think he's that much of a dark horse, honestly. I don't think he's going to get much. There's too many guys right now that are hot. I still think Luka has a chance to be the true dark horse here to win it. But you got too many guys. You got the Giannis, you got the Embiids, you got the Lukas in my mind. You got the DeMar DeRozans that I still think are ahead of him still. Celtics are a fun team, and I'm probably making a lot of Celtics fans mad right now, but I can't believe in them because they haven't shown me anything in the postseason to really, truly believe in. So, no.
All right, so we're going to the UFC real quick. So Conor McGregor has been calling out Usman, saying he can pretty much beat his ass. I want to get your thoughts on that.
I want this fight to happen, but I hope everybody understands what's going to happen if it does happen. Kamaru Usman's going to beat McGregor senselessly. McGregor is not the great fighter he once was, and he was once a great fighter. When he fought Jose Aldo and beat him in 16 seconds, that was peak McGregor. Nobody would beat that guy. Nobody. He was on fire. But you know why? Because back then, McGregor was focused on the craft. He was focused on MMA. He was focused on being a great fighter. That's when he was at his best. He's not old. He's 32 years old. Yeah. McGregor could go back, and if he was focused and fixated on what the craft was, he would make that a very competitive fight. But see, to Usman, this is everything to him. Because he's not the marketability. He doesn't have the marketability that McGregor has.
Man.
He's not a big-time businessman. He's not out there having these faux fights with Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
He's not out here flashing the dollar signs and smoking weed with Justin Bieber. I'm not knocking that. That's McGregor's life. He's earned that. He's went out there and made his millions. And I'm happy for him. But this is fighting. This isn't one-on-one basketball. This isn't where you can go out there and just make a fool of each other and see who wins. This is real shit. This is tactical. And Usman, if they end up making this fight, he's going to whoop McGregor's ass. I really hope everybody understands this.
Yeah, this isn't a Triller fight.
Exactly.
This isn't a Jake Paul fight.
This is Usman, the best of the best right now. This is probably the best fighter in the UFC. So I understand that McGregor's fun, and we all like watching him. He likes to talk shit. Poirier was whooping his ass before his leg snapped, and Poirier is not close to Usman. And Poirier is a good fighter. So I hope everybody understands what this is. It's going to be fun. It's going to sell a ton of pay-per-views, all that stuff. And all the who's are going to be at their sideline of that thing at the Octagon. That's going to be a butt-kicking, dude. And I really hope everybody understands that. But I am rooting for it. I want to see it.
Yeah, Conor McGregor is one of my all-time favorite athletes, all time. Personality, impact, what he did. He changed the trajectory of an entire sport. I love that guy so much. I root for him every time, and I will root for him now. I want to see him beat Usman, but he's not going to. I hope this fight happens just for the draw, the eyeballs that this would obtain for the sport. It's great. He's a great businessman. He's extremely marketable. One of the best mouthpieces in sports history. One of the most unique personalities. One of the best trash talkers ever. I love through and through. I love Conor, man. I was very upset what happened last fight with the breaking of his leg. I was very, very upset about that Poirier fight, but he was getting his ass beat either way. So he's been outmatched by these guys that are more, in the fighting world. He's definitely been focused on his brand and who he is, and he's kind of been rusty on that for a while now, and it's unfortunate, but I still love it. He's great for the sport still. He's still a good fighter, but I don't think he's great anymore. He could, like you said, he's not old. He can definitely change his stars, and that could be this could be a possible chance for him to do that. But Usman is another level, man. Usman is at the top of his game. He's a killer. He destroys everything in his path right now, and he's just on that. He's on that similar trajectory that early McGregor was on, and he was unstoppable. So Usman is just, if it came down to it, I'm gonna pick McGregor just because I'm biased and I don't care, and I love him. I'm a root for him. I love watching and rooting for him. But Usman would probably mop him up if I'm being 100% honest with myself.
All right, last question for you guys. What can a team trade for Baker Mayfield, and what will they get out of Baker?
I've been thinking about this a lot lately too.
Two teams in my mind.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a market for Baker. He's only 27 years old, former first overall pick in the draft, super marketable, has charisma, has enough talent. I've always said though that I think that Kirk Cousins is a poor man's. Baker Mayfield is a poor man's Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
I think that they're the same type of quarterback where they're not very mobile.
He's Case Keenum, man.
Good arm, not great arm.
Yeah.
Always available. Like you saw, Baker played through injury. I mean, he was very
tough.
He's tough. He's
For
gritty.
sure.
All that other stuff, right? But you're going to have to settle. You're not going to be able to get. You're not. I don't think the Browns are getting first round picks out of Baker Mayfield, and a team that I think is perfectly suited for him is the Indianapolis Colts. Here's the problem with the Colts: they don't have a first round pick. They traded that away for Carson Wentz, who they just traded for 2 third-round picks. So I think they're going to have to give up multiple third-round picks, multiple second-round picks probably, to go and get Baker Mayfield. Because you're also talking about the Browns. Although Baker Mayfield doesn't change the trajectory of the AFC, you're still trading him within the AFC. That's why you saw the Texans and what they got in return from the Browns to get Deshaun, because they knew they're trading him within the AFC. So I think the Colts make a lot of sense. I think the Seahawks make a lot of sense. I think there are teams out there that can make sense for Baker Mayfield. And I think that that's where you're going to see him go. And I think that you're going to see some mid-round picks be swapped. I do not think it's going to be first-round picks that the Browns are going to be getting for Deshaun or for Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I do agree. I think the Colts will be the best spot for him to land in order to go collect some wins and be competitive. I think that Colts roster is built to win. They have arguably the best running back in the league, and it's still a top-tier elite defense in my mind, and a good head coach that I think could get the best out of Baker. I think Frank Reich would get maybe the best out of Baker as far as his system and how he has been known for developing quarterbacks and being a quarterback whisperer. He's one of those coaches that's very good at getting him. He brought by far the best Carson Wentz years ever. So I think that's the number one top landing spot. I think he would probably want to go, and I think Seattle's a good fit too. I know they got Drew Lock. That can have maybe a quarterback controversy there.
Can you imagine that being the quarterback fight?
Yeah, no. I'm just
Baker
thinking
Mayfield versus Drew Lock.
I'm just thinking about what makes sense, and I think Washington and Seattle are two teams I think would make sense for him. Granted, Heineke is not much different than
Washington
Baker.
just got Carson Wentz.
Oh yeah, my bad. Not Washington. So yeah, that's never mind that one. But yeah, I think the two teams I guess would be Seattle and there's been so many moves. I forgot Carson Wentz has been in Washington. There's been so much going on. But yeah, Seattle I think would be a good fit. They have 2 really good receivers. They always find ways to get production out of their running backs. They need a lot of work on defense, and that offensive line might be trouble for him. So.
You know what's going to end up happening, right?
Him going anywhere to win is kind of out the picture, though.
But you guys know what's bound to happen. Baker is going to become a backup quarterback.
Yeah, he's going to become Case Keenum.
Yes.
That's who he is.
You're going to see him on other teams, spot starts. A guy gets injured. You see Baker start for 6-7 games, and people start doing the whole conversation. Should Baker be a starter again in this league?
Yeah.
When he's 29, 30 years old. Right now, I still think he's going to get a starting gig because there's starting gigs available, and he's still good enough to get those jobs. But as time goes on, we're going to see Baker for what he really is, solid but not great, and he's just going to start traveling throughout the league.
I think the Bears could be a team that he could possibly land in Chicago, too. I think that's...
I wouldn't do that. And the reason why is you just went and drafted Justin Fields. You bring Baker Mayfield in, that's a circus.
Yeah.
So you don't want to have that with Justin Fields looking behind his shoulder going, this guy started in the league now for the last 4 years.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, maybe as a possible backup to Justin Fields, because Justin Fields is my boy. That was my favorite quarterback of that draft.
Yeah.
But, who knows? Who knows where he's going to land? I mean, if he lands anywhere, it's not going to be... The only place he can land and win some games is Indianapolis, because that's a great roster. But
And that division's super winnable.
Yeah, you got a number one receiver, Michael Pittman. You got a couple good tight ends over there. One of the best, if not the best, running back in the league. Good defense. That's a best spot for him. Best case scenario is Indianapolis.
Shoot, my pick is Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, I think to win.
To get Baker Mayfield.
Okay.
It would make sense for them, too, because they also, like I talked about, them playing the outdated style of offense.
They need a name.
The Browns like to run the ball a lot, too. Baker can fit into that style of offense. Brings marketability to a team that's reeling right now because they just lost their best player.
He's extremely marketable, for sure.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense for the Seahawks to make that. And you're getting him out of the conference.
It'd be a weird fit, though. His personality just doesn't seem like a Seahawk personality to me. I guess I'm just so used to the cheese that is Russell Wilson.
And if there was a team that could give up first-round picks to get Baker, it would be the Seahawks. They just reallocated all those first-round picks for Russell Wilson.
That's true.
Something to think about. Do they really want to give up first-round picks for Baker Mayfield?
Are they going to rebuild around Baker?
Doubt it. I wouldn't advise it.
Yeah.
So the
problem
that the Seahawks are up against, though, is the fact that there's not a guy in this draft right now that looks like a prolific starter, a franchise quarterback. So this might be their only choice.
We're just going to see a lot of Drew Lock, Hail Marys.
And the Niners aren't trading Jimmy Garoppolo to the Seahawks.
No.
So they're not going to do that within the division.
Will be a team, I think. Yeah. Baker or Jimmy G for the Colts.
And then Jimmy G has just had shoulder surgery on his throwing arm. Yeah. That's 16 weeks. So he's going to be coming in around training camp.
He's trash.
At 30 years old. Yeah, exactly. So let me just put it like this. It's great being a Chiefs fan right now, man. It's great being an AFC West fan
I remember those days.
Right.
Don't miss it, man.
Right.
Yeah. Shit.
Well, yeah, is that it?
That's it.
That's a good Eddie hour. We appreciate it, man, so much. We get those each and every week. Do we have any comments or anybody that's wanting to start some shit today?
J.J. Watt missed more than 2 games Lance this
T.J.
past
Watt.
season. J.J. Watt.
I know J.J. did. He missed almost the whole season. I was about T.J. Watt.
I think you said J.J., but I know what you meant. Yeah.
Oh, I meant T.J. Watt. I'm sorry. T.J. Watt, who led the league in sacks.
Okay.
So let me clarify that. That was a gaffe on my behalf. Yeah. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yes, T.J. Watt, who led the league in sacks last year. I think it was 22 sacks. Missed 2 games last season. Still had more sacks than Frank Clark did. Actually, had more than Frank Clark did over the last 3 years.
Yeah,
that's the point I was trying to make.
Comparing him to T.J. Watt is
no, that's what I'm saying. Dude, Frank Clark made the 9th most amount of money last year. He was 9th in salary last year.
Yeah.
So he was the highest paid defensive player last year. Frank Clark was. So I'm just throwing that out there.
And then somebody said when we were talking about Hardman, they said Jet Sweep Hardman.
Yeah, that's why they call him the Jet, man. He's
the Jet Sweep Hardman. That's his new nickname.
There was a point in last season when I was like, man, I'm just out of the McCole Hardman business because I put him in the expectation category of becoming wide receiver 2, and then I saw McCole Hardman for what he truly was, just an effective weapon. That's all he is. He's not a solidified receiver. He's not a running back. He's just that guy that can get you those short yardage plays on gimmicky scat plays, and then can do the big, deep throws that Patrick Mahomes hits him on periodically. I'm not expecting McCole Hardman to ever become anything more than what he is right now, but I would love to be proven wrong because as our guy Clay Windler said, if this Tyreek Hill deal doesn't get done, which I do anticipate, let's say Tyreek gets his deal done, the Chiefs have 2 receivers in Juju and McCole Hardman, both young as hell, both trying to prove themselves on contract deals. It's the ideal situation for McCole Hardman and Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs to get this thing up and running immediately next season. And that's the thing that excites me too. Just a little side note. The Chiefs had a 3-4 start last season, won the division comfortably last year. Patrick Mahomes had all the numbers he had last year. and they didn't have a legitimate wide receiver too. We're talking about this team adding just so much in just one acquisition, man. I cannot wait. Like Eddie, you said, this is your guy all along. I'll give you all the credit in the world. I think Amari Cooper is the better receiver between the two.
Yes.
But that does not matter. Juju Smith-Schuster is a perfect fit for this offense, and I couldn't be more excited.
Yep.
We have what's up? Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just gonna say Baylor's down 9. They just
Carolina.
scored 6. They're down 6 now to North Carolina.
This bracket's been
With
insane.
with 2 minutes to go.
We haven't even talked March Madness. That's how insane the
North
NFL's been.
Carolina's
Again, they've been
frauds
king,
anyways.
man. We've talked about it for over an hour and a half now. We're going to finish this bad boy off with one more order of business to tend to. Guys, what's it called? Hold this L. Each and every week, we finish off each and every episode with a series of L's in the world of sports, whether they're friendly or not friendly. L's in the world of sports. We promise you, whoever is holding those L's in the world of sports deserve those L's in the world of sports. Mr. Eddie Ortiz, Mr. Yo, who is holding the L for you this week, and is it potentially F1?
Well, it's F1, but I'm not gonna give them an L.
Dubs.
I'm gonna give those fans of F1 a W. Why? The season kicks off this weekend. We've seen qualifying just a couple hours ago, about 3 hours ago. We saw the Ferraris take first and third. Then we saw the Red Bulls take second and fourth in the qualifying. That's a fantastic start, if you ask me. We can't wait, or I can't wait for this season. It's a new era, new cars, new FIA Direct. It's just, everything's new, everything's different from last year. I cannot wait for this season, and I bet I'm not the only F1 fan out there that can be so excited about this season. It's time. It's been too long, and here we are. So I just want to give them a W, those F1 fans.
Much excite.
Oh, yes.
All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and keep mine in the same vein as the show has been in.
Depressing?
No, it's not depressing. It's not depressing, man. Listen, this is someone I respect and I love dearly and did a lot for this culture here in Kansas City for the Chiefs. But this L is gonna go to Tyrann Mathieu right now. I love him. This is out of respect, okay? This is not me talking shit or talking down to him. But I think he kind of bought a little too much into his own hype than he was actually really getting credited for outside of his own head, if I'm being honest. He decided, and I'll start this by saying the Chiefs never offered him any kind of extension or a new contract.
According to reports.
Who knows what's been said and discussed behind closed doors, and who knows what's been discussed and might be in the future. If he ends up back here or wherever. But I will say there's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 total free agent signed safeties, including Justin Reed, who signed here for a 3-year, $30 million deal. Great deal. Marcus Williams, I think, is the highest paid one so far from the Saints. He went to Baltimore on a big 5-year, $70 million deal.
That's not even mentioning Harrison Smith, who got a big contract extension last year at 32 years old.
Right. So, and they're the likes of Marcus May, Xavier Woods is getting more chances, Jordan Whitehead, George Odom, Michael Thomas, Anthony Harris, AJ Moore. None of those guys
No
are
relation to Manny Moore.
None of those guys are as good as Tyrann Mathieu, if we're all being honest, that we know of. I mean, a lot of these, obviously, but what all these guys have in common, outside of Michael Thomas, who's 31, and Anthony Harris, who's 30, but these guys got 1-year deals, right? All the rest of the guys are 25 and under, 26, 25 years old, right around that range, all in their youth. Tyrann's about to be 30. In my mind, Tyrann underperformed last year, and he decided to bank on his credible name and obviously his resume. He's been a great safety throughout his career. But he decided to bank on that and has yet to been signed anywhere. And all the teams that needed safeties, that needed a safety name of note, or a playmaker, and absolutely had a massive need in that department, they've all signed him. I'm not saying he's not going to get signed, but I'm saying the fact that he was looking for big prime time elite numbers and money, he's just not going to get that. And it sucks to say that because I love him dearly. I loved him before he was ever a Chief, mind you. I've loved this guy since LSU days. I loved watching Honey Badger, one of the most entertaining safeties in my recent memory. And I've always supported him through the shit that he went through in his career and all the things, the controversial things he was going through. But it's just not working out for him, man. And he banked on himself. He thought he was going to go out there, and he's been tweeting about how the league treats its best like shit. I don't think you're one of the league's best anymore, man. And I think that's showing. No one's No one's wanting to take you in. Every team that needed it. There was no reason why I couldn't have seen Tampa Bay try to go nab him, especially with as cheap as the price is plummeting right now. We got guys signed to 1-2 year deals for 10 to 14 million. He can't even get that right now. Granted, he could be and he works with somebody, and this L could definitely backfire on me. I don't think it's going to, though. I think he's gonna have to take a small deal for small money, much lesser than what he was expecting, right? And we even thought, he would probably go get money elsewhere. It just has not transpired that way, and it's kind of sad, honestly, if I'm being honest. When we're a whole week into free agency, we've heard nothing about Tyron. The only two teams that we thought would go after Tyron that has been in the rumblings and rumors wise was New Orleans and Baltimore.
Well, even James Palmer and Tom Pelissero were saying be ready for some Tyron news like 3 or 4 days ago.
Yeah.
So that there must have been like some lowballed offer that he didn't want to take.
Right. So I think his pride's kind of getting in the way of what he actually I know he's within his reality, but the objective reality that we all live in is not working in his favor. And then like I said, New Orleans just signed Marcus May for 3 years for $23 million. And then, obviously, Baltimore making the big move for Marcus Williams, who's a young stud out of New Orleans, for a 5-year, $70 million, the highest paid safety. So those are the two teams that were rumored, and they both just signed their guys. So I don't know who. I mean, obviously Landon Collins is still out there too, but Landon Collins was recently released, so I'm pretty sure Landon Collins is probably gonna land somewhere before Tyron is, just because they're a similar age. But I think Landon Collins is a little more respected at this point for being a producer on the field. I'm not saying Tyron isn't a producer, but I think he's kind of shooting himself in the foot with a lot of the antics he's been doing and portraying. Granted, I've always backed him, the Twitter fingers and all that. I've always backed him no matter what, because that's how he's always been. But I think at this time, and the production that he's been putting out there and the age he's at now, he's really hurting his own market. And it's not what we thought it would be. It's not what he thought it would be. And it's just sad. So for that, Tyrann Mathieu at this time being, you have to do me a favor and
hold this L. So I'm going to get a little greedy today because I have...
I already know where you're going.
I have a W and an L to give to. First of all, my W is going to a guy... I think everyone's dream or fantasy in life is to work as little as possible and make as much money as possible. Well, I would say that the epitome of that is one Chase Daniel. So Chase Daniel, we just heard the news today that he is actually staying with the Chargers for another 1 year, $2.5 million deal. Chase Daniel will be 36 years old this year. Has been in the league for this will be his 13th season. It'll be a 6th team. The Chargers are his 6th team. This is incredible. So this man now has made $40 million. $40 million in his NFL career now, right? $40 million. He has a total of 261 pass attempts in his career, which means that he has 15 pass attempts per season, and 3 of his 6 teams that he's played for, he threw less than 50 attempts. This man has made $40 million to throw the ball 261 times in his career.
That's less than one Derrick Henry rushing attempt season. That's one season for Derrick Henry rush attempts. That's wild, bro.
My boy's
winning.
Happy for him. This is not making fun of it. I'm saying you did something right, Chase. Yeah. You really did, man. And I'm so happy for you. And I hope you stay in the league I want him to be like Vinny Testaverde or Tom Brady, where he's in the league at 45, 46 years old.
He's got nudes of
making
somebody.
$2-3 million a year for some random team. He's basically been paid $40 million.
Goodell nudes or something.
He's basically been paid $40 million a year to wear new teams' hats.
Yeah.
Hey, you're our new endorsement guy. This is your new team hats. Wear this. Yeah, hold this over here. So don't hold this L. Hold the clipboard because you're doing great things, Chase, and I'm happy for you, man.
Bro,
couldn't be happier for you. My L is going to a team who's taken a lot of L's throughout the last few years and has been a substantially failure of a franchise, even though they have a history of being one of the greatest franchises of all time. That's going to the Dallas Cowboys, because this week they were of the belief, and they actually had it in place and on they put it out there on their Twitter pages that they signed back Randy Gregory. And less than an hour later, we hear that Randy Gregory backed out of the deal and decided to sign with the Denver Broncos. We didn't actually mention that on today's show.
Yeah.
And it's a big deal because Randy Gregory is an awesome player. Now, he's missed a lot of games due to injury and suspension over the last 4 years, but he is still one of the best pass rushers in this game, and he's only 27 years old. So this is a great signing for the Broncos. But holy shit, The Cowboys literally put this out here. They got him back. They're getting drug in the mud by the Broncos, and they put surprise of Stephen Colbert and his little gif after they ended up getting him.
So good.
And now they miss out on Von Miller. They have no true prolific pass rusher now. And their defense is what was saving them a lot last season. Even though Dak Prescott put up a lot of really good numbers, their defense was good last season.
Yeah.
Well, now losing Randy Gregory, who we're already dealing with missing 3 or 4 games a season, you don't get him at all. And you thought you had him. Jerry Jones out here trying to salvage this. Stephen Jones out here trying to salvage this. Peter Schrager's going on Colin Cowherd's show saying that he literally chose to take on go to the Broncos to win.
Yeah.
That is such an indictment on Dak Prescott. I had Cowboys fans all pissed at me for saying that. Not my words. It's Peter Schrager, who's one of the most connected guys in the league,
It is what it
telling people that he literally backed out of this deal due to having a real chance of winning.
That's
and the
crazy.
Cowboys are in the NFC. The wide open conference over there, where the Cowboys could just walk into the playoffs. That's a massive loss for the Cowboys, and I'm going to give them another one. Y'all do me a solid and hold this L. I do want to finish today's show off, and we've had a lot of fun. We've had a lot of laughs, a lot of jokes. But man, this is a rough one for me, man, because this is a guy that I've looked up to for over 20 years. We found out last night that longtime ESPN personality and reporter John Clayton had passed away in a Seattle hospital where he had lived due to a brief illness. We don't really know much more than that. One of his good friends, longtime friends, tweeted it out last night. He was only 67 years old. John Clayton was one of those guys that you only knew because of all the good things that he brought. It was never negative stuff. It was never bad takes or old tweets that were dug up about racism or, saying some stupid shit. It was always because he always had something cool to say. And like Clay was telling me last night, it's always like a warm and fuzzy when you saw John Clayton come on the stage and come on the set. And the greatest skit I think ESPN ever came up with, the This Is Sports Center, when he's doing the report, then he gets off and you see the cutoff with a fake suit. He's got like his AC/DC outfit on, his little shorts, and he jumps back in his bed eating Chinese food saying, "Mom, my report is done!" And he plays his metal music again. Like John Clayton, to see this humble old man like do the things he did for over 22 years with ESPN. He was a part of the unfortunate layoffs back in 2017. He still went out there and flourished and did what he did. I've heard him on local radio here several times when the Frank Clark news broke back in 2019. He came on here and gave us everything we needed to know about Frank Clark because obviously he lives in Seattle. He was well connected. This one sucks, man. This really, really sucks. And this isn't a W. This obviously isn't an L. I just wanted to acknowledge the greatness that John Clayton was and the legacy he leaves behind as one of the most respected and admired NFL reporters we've ever come to know. And we lost a good one, man, and it really sucks. I did not expect this. I did not see this coming. Nobody really knew anything until his buddy dropped the news on everybody, and his buddy had like 117 followers. So this thing like had a natural progression of building, and it was about an hour before the news even dropped it. We saw it on Twitter, and about an hour later, CNN and all these other places started to finally get that out there. So it was a weird day. A lot of news came out yesterday, but that was the one that really hurt the most for me, man. And I just want to send my well wishes to his family, and I hope everything is going steady for them because I can't imagine how rough this is. And I didn't want to leave the show on a wet blanket, but that sucks, man. And he was great. And if you didn't know John Clayton, you really missed out because he was fun, man. And
he was always part of the golden era, man.
Yeah, you always loved watching him. And when like Stuart Scott and Scott Van Pelt and those guys would bring him on, he would give us breaking news. John Clayton's reporting this. Like he was literally, and I know Adam Schefter's done an incredible job, Ian Rappaport and all these guys. He was them before they were. Like it was him and Chris Mortensen that were breaking the stories all the time.
It was before social media was at its peak too.
Like Peter Gamans would always have the late breaking. Buster Olney would have the late breaking baseball news. Yep. When it came to football, it was Chris Mortensen and John Clayton, and it just he was one of those guys that really got me excited to like want to talk sports.
He was unique,
and it sucks, but nevertheless, he left a legacy, and I'm proud to say that I grew up watching him on my television. So, for that though, man, we've had a great show. We had a great time today. Got a lot more news, I'm sure, that's coming about, man, but I hope that Chiefs fans are ready for this season. I know I am, man. We're 5 freaking months from the season starting, but I couldn't be more excited. I couldn't be more ready to go.
Look forward to the draft.
This team's got a lot of good things to go to add to this team. We got a pissed off team coming into the season for how the last season started, or ended rather. It started and ended. But we are ready for football, man. This is still very much the golden era of Chiefs football. And I hope you guys are going to stick around and enjoy it with us, man, because we enjoy each and every episode we do here. We got almost 160 160 episodes in at the Spoken Podcast. We're about to drop another 160 on your ass,
Let's go.
whether you like it or not. So for Trevor Twidwell, for Eddie Ortiz, for the great Clay Wendler that puts all this stuff together for us, I am Lance Twidwell. This is the Spoken Podcast. Episode 159 is done, finished, and finito. And until we are here next week for 160, we out of this bitch.
See ya.